Super important. Yes, professionally, always err on the side of clock time.
Yeah, sir. So before we get start, would you please talk to our students next another 10 minutes? Thus, other students can come in, and by the time you just talk to them, whatever you want, just informal talking, conversation. You can ask them anything, or you can give them advice, anything you wish. Next 10 minutes is totally yours. Then we are going to start together. Okay?
Well, I don't have anything that was in the forefront of my mind. And the first thing that arose when you said that is that we're all brothers and sisters. We're all part of the same family. And sometimes I'll reflect upon what has made our species successful, right? Like, why, as an animal, has our species been so successful, right? Like, we rose above all of the other animals in the animal kingdom, and certainly our intellect has something to do with that. But more importantly, so it's our ability to collaborate, because we're not the strongest animal, we're not the fastest animal, right? We've definitely got some smarts, but if we were left in the wilds alone by ourselves, we wouldn't survive very long, probably, right? If we did survive, we wouldn't be very happy. And what really is our strength as a species is our social nature and this ability for us to work together and collaborate together and to help each other, which means being helped, right? Allowing ourselves to be helped, asking for help, and allowing ourselves to be helped, and then also helping others. And so that's like this beautiful cycle, this beautiful strength, this beautiful superpower like Superman that we have as a species, or Wonder Woman, right? That we have as a species, to be able to collaborate and work together and help each other. And it can be challenging to ask for help, right? Because it's humbling. But if you remember that, hey, this is actually what makes us strong as a species, and we have to be on both sides of that equation, both receiving help, asking for help, and then also helping others. So I don't know, that's the first thing that came to mind for me. And then I guess the other thing I'll say is, the tremendous opportunities that exist right now in technology, we're still trying to wrap our heads, most people aren't even aware of it yet, trying to wrap their heads around what generative AI will mean, how that's going to impact humanity, and how we might be able to use that. But tremendous amount of opportunity, and we just have to discover that opportunity. And so that's why we're here together today, is to collaborate on that, to brainstorm around that. And I'm going to ask Mostain to record this so that he has a record of it. But I also just want to articulate that whatever ideas we share, we're all working on building this together. And so if you share an idea or a concept, that is something, to the best. I'm not omnipotent or omniscient, or all powerful or all knowing, but to the best of my ability, if we come up with an idea and implement it and run with it and it becomes successful, we're all doing this together. So I just wanted to speak to that and let you know that it's a collaborative effort. So that's the intent of us talking today. I don't know, does anybody have any thoughts or questions?
Yeah, so I mean last week class, we just immediately bought the chat gpt courses you have mentioned,
Mhm.
and I it immediately involves one of the students in our coding bootcamp, which is Ahmed Dipu. Are you there, Dipu?
Yes, sir, I'm there, sir.
Yeah, so would you please unmute yourself and share your feelings about the course and what you have learned so far. How what is your progress? What is your review? Just give us the review, especially Todd sir, because he's really excited to about these projects, and as we all are helping him, so we should know the status as well. So please share.
Thank you, sir. Sir, I have gone through the whole course. I have seen all the lectures, Actually, what is my review? It is kind of mix up. Like not I am 100% positive, not 100% negative. My honest review is that course is actually implementing the API, ChatGPT API to some website. That instructor, that Udemy instructor, shown us how to implement the API to any of website. Like he shown Babel, he shown Outlook. He configure the API to Outlook, so that if we build any website with Babel or in Outlook, if we use the email, then how that API react. Suppose if in ChatGPT we ask question and ChatGPT generate an answer um, according to our question. So the same thing happened in my website. Like if I use the ChatGPT API, then through my website, if I ask any question, written answer, but the
Hello,
You're breaking up
maybe,
there, Deepu.
yeah,
he
Deepu,
will think. Yes,
maybe
sir.
lagging issue. So would you please repeat the last few words?
Yes, sir. Sir, I have said that the instructor shown if we use the ChatGPT API in our website, and if the website is built with Babel, or if we use that API in our Outlook, then when someone question in our website, it will answer as the ChatGPT answer. So the person who is asking the question from our website, he will not understand that this is generated from ChatGPT. He will think that this is generated from our end. But actually, under the hood in backend, the answer actually generated from the ChatGPT. Uh, as I have seen, this is the whole overview of that course. But one thing I want to mention, what I have faced as a problem, that he used Azure. As I don't have any card, so I couldn't open paid version. So actually I couldn't gone through the whole course according to him, as I don't have international card. So that is a thing I faced some trouble with Microsoft is paid. So most of the things was undiscovered from by me. It was a problem, but the portion what was free, I had practiced that, and that's good. But overall, my review is it is 50% good, 50% is not applicable for me, and most of other students, those don't have any international card.
Yes. That's awesome. Great job going through the course, and thank you for that update. And sounds pretty much like an API that allows you just to integrate the chat functionality wherever you want to include it. Yep.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so Saif, do you wanna share something?
Assalamu alaikum. Hi, I think it is good morning at your place, Todd. Yeah.
Yes,
Hi.
good evening to you.
Yeah, actually, I think I have gone through the wrong ChatGPT course, but I have gone one ChatGPT course, which shown is like the day-to-day daily uses of ChatGPT and how we can use it to keep that in our site, so that it can help us doing a lot of works and relieves us from lots of hard working and do the things in terms of quick in little time. So, and I think I have one example. Last day we have talked about like generating some ideas and how we can developing. So actually I got an idea and I wasn't sure and how I am going to proceed with that idea if there is any lacking. So I started
Hold on
chatting.
1 second, Saif. Hey,
Yeah.
Mostain, can you record this?
Yes, I'm already recording. I'm recording using
Oh, good.
OBS. Okay.
All right, I just didn't see that. Great. All right,
Yeah.
keep going, Saif. I just want to make sure we get a record of all this.
Yeah, actually, then I started chatting with ChatGPT that I have an idea, and is there anything like this, and is it unique, and how I can improve it, and how I can build it in the Golang, and how I can implement it in the cloud apps. So by chatting over the time, it got smarter, and it I understand me what I am wanting, and based on my needs, it's giving me the reply. And actually the most I feel about this is that the things I had in my mind, and I had to write it down so that I can present it to you. But when I am talking to the chat GPT and sharing my idea, then it is doing the job for me, like writing the pitch deck, and it is doing the most of the database modeling, and how am going to implement the services, like which services I'm going to use, like cloud and the Docker and the Kubernetes and all these things. It is planning for me, and it is getting ready, giving me how I can monetize it, and how I can spread it to the others, and that kinds of things. And I think it's reduce my work time, like if I have to do all these things all by myself, I may it might take 1 or 2 weeks to plan and all those things. But within one day, and time to time little bit chatting, cause it got the history, and if I ask based on the previous things, it is giving me the reply, so I don't have to every time I don't have to tell them that what I need. So within one day I can uh, make that whole plan ready. And I think if it is a nice one, then we can go with it, go with this project. So I think it's a great use of ChatGPT. And the other things I am using ChatGPT for, like the books. We read books, and reading books sometimes may take longer time, but we need a quicker review, that what's the bullet point, what's the summary, and how what's the key points of this, and how what's the takeaway. So by this, by asking ChatGPT, it is generating the whole 1 page or 2 page summary, so I can read, and giving the overview of this. That books, so it is reducing my time, and I can gain knowledge within less times, and it is saving my time and energy. And I am also doing, like, I'm coding and asking the ChatGPT, like, that is it possible that I can refactor it for more solid principles, or other clean code structure. And sometimes it is giving me the response that it is already optimized, so then I am feeling happy that I am able to write optimized code. Sometimes it is giving me the reply that I couldn't think of, like I have done I have used a for each or loop, but it is giving me the map solution, which is less calculative, or sometimes it is giving me the less less what
I mean,
complex, less
you're,
complex code.
yeah,
So
big OFN, right? You are
yeah,
talking about, yeah,
the
the
complexity,
performance.
time
Yeah, yeah.
complexity, and the space complexity. Yeah, so it is sometimes giving me the less complexity code. So it is actually, I am using ChatGPT for my own purpose. So I think those who are telling that ChatGPT will replace human or something, I think we have to use it, and we have to think that how we can use it for and keep that in our side, so that we can move on with that. Because it is ChatGPT, I think it is reducing our time, work time, so that we can be more productive, and we have to be more productive with it. Because if we don't use ChatGPT and get more productive, then other human will replace us, and they will get our jobs or our place, I think. That's my overall ChatGPT experience, and I am planning to use that ChatGPT API in my project in future. But I think yesterday I have seen that ChatGPT Plus is available in Bangladesh now. So I am planning to buy and twinkling with it if it is coming yeah, at a much cheaper rate, less than now. That's my whole experience.
Thank you, Saif. That was really wonderful to hear your experience with it and how you're using it. It's very informative, and I applaud you and commend you for experimenting with it and exploring it. So great job, and thanks for that update, that report. You know, the interesting thing is, like, you know, two phases to this process. And one phase is, you know, what is it and what can it do right now, right? And then where is this technology going to go? And can we be there when it gets there? Can we get ahead of what's coming and let it hit us? So that's a Bill Gates quote. Can we get ahead of what's coming and let it hit us? And so, Saif, you know, that was a great kind of description of where it is right now. And it increases productivity and allows us to refactor code and optimize code. And it could summarize books for us, right? And so these are all the ways we could currently use it. Most people don't know about this yet, right? Like most people aren't using this yet. And so it's really just very nascent. But then where is it going to be? And so I shared last week, I totally remember the early days of the World Wide Web, and oh, wow, I'm connecting to another computer, and holy cow, text and images are rising on my screen. It's amazing from somewhere else. And then 10 years later, we have YouTube and social media. And so what's that going to look like, you know, with generative AI? And, you know, like, you know, we don't want to just like, here's ChatGPT at this website here, and now you could come to my website and do the exact same thing, right? Like that didn't really add the value. So what is it that is going to be value added? And so we talked about a couple of examples last week. You know, we kind of explored culinary innovation, right? But we also looked at like traveling, right? Like booking an itinerary and then just clicking a button and saying book it. But then the next thing is like, you know, there are already all these established businesses and services out there. There are travel websites. So we have to assume that, you know, they already have the customer base, right? And so all they have to do is add that functionality in. All they have to do is connect to ChatGPT, and now it's going to plan your itinerary for you in a conversational style, and you can book it, right? So we you know, they already have such a significant presence for booking travel, right? And Google Flights, right? That, you know, is that really something that makes sense to run at? And the thing which would really make sense to develop or build is something which, you know, nobody's there yet, right? Like we're the first ones there. We're doing something that, you know, travel websites, they're already there, right? Culinary websites, they're already there. So what is the thing that's not there yet? Like,
Yeah,
you know,
even recipes are there even.
yeah. And what is the thing that is not there yet? And so that's the interesting and big question. And, you know, summarizing books, right? Like, you know, that's cool, helping us be more efficient, like extending the capabilities of humans. And I don't have the answers here, but this is the conversation, and this is the brainstorming session. And so does anybody have any ideas that come up for them?
Yeah,
Yeah,
actually,
we have more students, and we have Professor Talal from Norway. So I would ask Professor Talal to unmute yourself and please contribute to our conversation. Professor Talal, are you there? Are you listening to us? Hello?
Yes, I'm here, but I'm in the middle of a canteen. So I just got a
Okay.
small corner. I'm sitting and listening to you all guys. So thank you very much, but continue your, I'm just trying to learn. Thank you.
Yeah, welcome, sir. Thank you. Okay, so is there Istiak available? Istiak? So Istiak, are you there? So one of our bootcamp students, he shared me his experience. So he was developing a travel booking site like Gulliver's Travels, similar. So his main idea was he is developing a 360 view travel blog where he continuously posting blogs related to travels, sightseeing, visa information. So all the information related to the travel, itinerary details, which uh, clothes are related to travels, which bags they need to buy, and he is getting the affiliation from Amazon and other e-commerce sites, putting it into the website, and this is how he started generating revenue. For first few months, since he started, it was generating a little bit revenue, but he claiming as soon as Google changed their plan, I mean SEO rules, because of ChatGPT or artificial intelligence write up, so he said his traffic was started falling down, and at the last month he was so frustrated, so he's no more he's working with his site because he's not getting expecting any traffic or getting any traffic because of the rule change by Google. So I think this is a big threat for this kind of application, because if we get help by ChatGPT, especially generating text content, Google can easily detect that, and that's a big challenge. If we somehow protect it like Quillbot does, I don't know how they does it, but if we somehow prevent this, that Google won't be detected as we are generating text from ChatGPT or any other uh, AI generated platform, that would be appreciable. Otherwise it would be very tough, because if Google can detect our content we generated from ChatGPT, this is really a big threat and for uh, Google, and they are blocking us immediately. So that's the big deal. So Professor Todd, how would we recover this? How would we overcome these kind of problems? So don't you think this is a big headache or big challenge for this kind of content generation, especially text content generation? What is your view on this, please?
Wait, so what happened? The travel website had some ChatGPT built into it, and then Google dropped it?
Exactly what he claimed. Yeah, that was his thought. Yeah, so Google, before their rules changing, the traffic was huge, but as soon as Google changed their policy, last 1 month ago maybe, or 1 or 2 months ago maybe, they changed their policy after launching ChatGPT launched maybe last November, right? As far as I remember, last November. So after that, the Google SEO policy gets changed, and his traffic shuts down immediately. So he is really frustrated now. So he's supposed to be there. Ishtiaq, are you there? So uh, Hassan, would you please call him, Mr. Ishtiaq? I'm giving his number to you. Thus, you can call him and ask him to join, because this is very important. His feedback was very important for us. So I want I want him to talk to Todd McLeod and share his experience directly. That would be more better, because there are so many things still I am not confirmed yet. So that would be better if he presents and share his experience.
Well, I really like this idea of thinking about the problems, and thinking about problems is a great way to discover new ideas for businesses, because when you think about problems, if you could solve a problem, then, I mean, that's basically what businesses do, is they solve problems, or they allow us to do things in more efficient ways where we didn't even realize it was kind of a challenge or a problem before. So just to illustrate that, again, the vehicle, the car, allows us to transport ourselves and be mobile in a more efficient way, right, than just walking or riding on a horse. And the airplane is even more efficient, right? So instead of taking 9 months to travel by horse from the East Coast of America to the West Coast of America, right? We could do it in 5 hours on an airplane. Or instead of like it taking 3 months to send a letter from America to Europe or to Bangladesh, right? Because it had to go by a boat, And then it had to go by rail cars, right? Back in the day, right? Airplane overnight. I could send something to Mustaine. He could have it tomorrow, right? Pretty amazing. So what, thinking about what problems can we solve? And so the travel website is an example of, the problem of how do you acquire customers. And so when you generate ideas and think about ideas, you really want to think about customer acquisition, because it's not only about creating the technology, but also how do you get your customers and find people to use it. And so if you solve a problem that's significant enough, if you provide greater efficiencies, if you create something which takes things to a whole other level, right, then you don't have to work as hard to acquire customers. If it's great enough, customers even rush to you. And so the technology with ChatGPT and generative AI, it's significant enough that customers are rushing to that. And the newspapers are all writing articles about it. And so, these are just ideas of what you really, want to try to capture when you build something. You want to think about, what are you building? How are you going to get the customers? And is the thing you're building solving a problem? And how big is the problem? And, is what you build going to be significant enough that people will be like, wow, I have to have this. I have to get that. So that used to be referred to in software development as killer applications. Like, that's a killer app, right? So word processing was a killer app. When word processing came out, it was like, that's so much better than a typewriter, Or when spreadsheets came out, right? Like, people who work with numbers for a living in finance or accounting, they had to buy a computer and use spreadsheets because it gave them such an efficiency, such an advantage from doing math with a pen and piece of paper, or even with just a little calculator, right? Spreadsheets were amazing. You can model all of these scenarios with spreadsheets. And so I think that's a great question is, what problems will ChatGPT surface? What problems will generative AI surface? And so I've been doing some reading and research in, news articles and things like that. And one of the things that is going to be an issue is authenticity. Like, that's a problem, right? Like, there's already deep fakes, right? Where, like, this was not Tom Cruise, but it looked like Tom Cruise. Like, China has already used automatically generated content videos of news anchors to post that to social media, right? For objectives of the state. And so here you're on social media, you see a news clip, and it's a news anchor talking, and they're talking about some issue, and it looks like a news anchor. It looks beautiful, and it has editing and clips, and you feel like you're watching a news story, but that was all generated, right? It was all generated. There was no news anchor in real life. And so, right, like what authenticity is going to be a problem, right? Like, how do we know this is coming from a real person, content that we look at, right? And is there some way that we could authenticate authenticity? Like, so that's one problem that needs to be solved. How do we authenticate authenticity? Well, how have we done authentication in the past, right? Authentication in the past has been like private key, public key, or we use CAPTCHA to authenticate that somebody's a real person. Or in America, we have, like, for the traveling, you could get TSA, Travel Safety Administration, pre-check, where they do a background check on you, and then you have a number. Or there's Real ID in America for traveling, where it's like, they've done a background check on you, they know you're a real person, right? And so you could pass through the airport security more easily, right? Because you've already kind of been vetted and checked out. Well, is there some way that we could combine computer technology with, authenticating people, and, there's CAPTCHA, which is totally annoying. Like, the CAPTCHA things, are you a real person? Identify the dog. And I feel like I'm in kindergarten. That's a dog, that's a dog, that's a dog. And then it takes you to the next one. Identify the cat. Well, that's a cat, that's a cat, that's a cat. Right. And then you go through 7 of them and they're like, you're not a human. No, I am a human. Right. I mean, it works too. But, like, how do you authenticate that content is actually coming from a human? Right. Because that, social media has a huge problem. Like Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, like, if content can be generated, holy crap, they're going to be inundated with content. We're going to be inundated with content. We are already inundated with content, but now it's going to be so much, all of this content flowing onto the web. And so, what kind of a problem does that create? Well, it creates a problem for Facebook and Twitter and YouTube. They need to authenticate real content, right? But they also need to allow for automatically generated content that's compelling. So maybe somebody automatically generated some cartoon, right? But really, kind of when you kind of track all that back, it's just like it's in sociology, they call this the paralysis of choice. I think maybe that's the phrase. But if you have too many choices, you become paralyzed. And I'm sure we've all experienced this in our own life. I experience this every day practically, where it's like, wow, I have so much, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to, and then I'm kind of like, I can't do anything. What do I even start with? And then I have to actually literally sit down sometimes and write it out and then say, this is number one, right? If nothing else happens today, I'm doing that for 2 hours. When that's done, I'm going to do this for 2 hours, right? And so with all of this information, with all of these choices of where we could spend our time, information overload, how do we simplify that? That's a problem to be solved. How do we synthesize that, right? And so, summarizing books, as Saif said, okay, that could help bring information. But, it's just this really interesting period where we have access to so much. And before we couldn't make sense of it as much, right? Like the web gave us information and generative AI is giving us understanding. So in the past, I wouldn't be able to go and, when I Google stuff in the past, the web, right? Google, the web, it would give me information. Here's a website, here's another website, here's another website. And I could go look at 3, 4, 5, maybe 10 websites, and I could start to get understanding. Well, now generative AI looks at 10 websites, 10,000 websites, 100 million websites, and it generates the understanding for me, right? And so already that generative AI is, taking us from the web, which gave us information, to generative AI, which gives us understanding. Now, it's not always correct. It's early days. Just like the web in the early days was wacky and wild and idiosyncratic, right? So too, this is a bit wacky, wild, and idiosyncratic. And there's plenty of examples of that, but it's only going to improve. Like early technology always is goofy and wacky and idiosyncratic and clunky. Early cell phones were clunky. Early web was clunky. This is clunky, right? But this idea of, wow, what does it do? The web gave us info, right? The web gave us info, and Gen AI gives us understanding, okay? It's doing that synthesis for us, right? And then it's also giving us it's going to inundate us with generated content. So social media can very much be destroyed, right? Like states can use this information to wage massive propaganda attacks and try to influence people. And people with agendas can use it to try to, we've had a lot of political divisiveness in America, and partly that's been internally generated, but also it's been externally influenced with, drone fake accounts on social media. And, and part of the issue, just from a humanity standpoint, I'm just free forming here for a second to put some ideas on the table, and then I want to hear your thoughts. But from a humanity standpoint, social is necessary for us. We are social creatures, and social is also really challenging. Why is that? Because we have this conflict between the individual and the collective. And often the individual has to subjugate itself to the collective, right? Like we have to, put ourselves second to the group. Otherwise, it's tyranny. The individual rules over the group, right? And so the choice is we could either be a tyrant and rule over the group, or we subjugate ourselves to the group, and it's the group that is more important than the individual. And so this is a really interesting tension in the human psyche, the individual versus the collective, the group. And, we're built into us in here is this sense of
তোমার thought টা
individualism
বলো
and
আগে, মানে তোমার কি
your
নেগেটিভ
ego,
কিছু
your
নাকি
identity,
পজিটিভ ওয়েতে বলতে
and
পারবা?
wanting to have things your way, which is your self-efficacy, and thinking you have the answer, right? But then we have the group, which will have a completely different opinion, maybe. And so, or the group will say, you know what, you're out of line, stand down, right? Quit being so full of yourself and get in the fields here and work right beside all of us. You're not special. You're not different than anybody else, right? Like pick up the plow and start working. And so the group will sometimes knock us down and humble us, right? And so we, and the different religions will speak to the importance of releasing your self-attachment and your focus on yourself and focusing more on the community, on the group. Like if you look in religions, they talk about, you know, like in Christianity, they say, not my will, but thy will, meaning thy, some larger collective whole. And so, you know, I bring all that up because the divisiveness on social media and the challenge of social, right? For humans, challenging is really social is really challenging. And it's challenging because we have to, you know, be humbled, and we have to not get our way, and we have to, you know, accept the fact that we're no better nor worse than anybody else, that we're all equal, right? And so social can be super challenging, and it's interesting to see how you know we have architected as humans distancing from contributing to the collective. And this is what's given rise in part to divisiveness. And so Robert Putnam, a sociologist, wrote a bunch about this in his book, Bullying Alone, and other work. And
Exactly.
and
তুমি
and
তাহলে
you know,
তুমি এটাই
social
বলতে চাচ্ছো
media
নাইসলি।
allows us to have the
এটার অল্টারনেটিভ, এখন তুমি
approximation
প্রবলেম
of
বললে, এখন এটার অল্টারনেটিভ
relationship
সলিউশন বলো,
without
সলিউশন তোমার
actually
কাছে
having
আছে?
to engage, right? And the differences can be so hard. Like, why do people go to
ঠিক
war,
আছে, হ্যাঁ
right?
এক্স্যাক্টলি।
Like
তুমি তাহলে
in
আসো,
America, they
এটাই
say
বলো,
never talk
গুড,
about
এটা কোনো
politics
সমস্যা
or
না, আসো
religion.
তাহলে।
And
ওকে
so if we started talking about religion, and one
ওকে
person's like, my religion's right, another person's like, my religion's right, my religion says Mickey Mouse says we should love everybody, my religion says, you know, Donald Duck says we should love everybody, no Mickey Mouse, no Donald Duck, no Mickey Mouse, no Donald Duck, Mickey Mouse says we should love each other, Donald Duck says we should love each other, and then they fight and kill each other because they have different gods that say they should love each other. Right? But right, so it's like, you know, this divisiveness, and that's hard when we have differences, when people challenge our beliefs. We think it's this way, we think it's this God, and people challenge that belief. We think it's this politician, we think it should be conservatism, we think it should be liberalism, we think it should be Republican, we think it should be democratic, and people challenge our beliefs, and that can be so hard for us. And so what have we done with social media is we could have relationships by proxy, we could have relationships at a distance, right? We no longer have to be in that same tribe with 40 people where somebody says, you're a jerk, that was really stupid what you just did, right? And if there's somebody we don't like, we just unfriend them. And then we could go find all the people that have the same views as us, and we could get like positive reinforcement. Oh, really? You think that Mickey Mouse, you know, with his wacky Donald Duck with his wacky hair should be running the world? I think that too, right? And we find all the people with the same views of us, and then we no longer have to face those differences that make us question ourselves or feel uncomfortable about our perspectives. And so, you know, with generative AI, now people who have agendas and perspectives can generate more content and can create more divisiveness. So these are just like some ramblings of high level, you know, thoughts on where is technology, how do humans and their psyches work, where is it going to go? Generative AI is going to generate a ton of content that's going to be used by states and people with agendas to try to, you know, influence things in certain ways. You know, social media is going to be inundated with content. That's a huge problem, a huge challenge that they're going to face. Authenticity, authenticating real content could be a problem to solve. Like, that's not solved yet. How do you authenticate that a post really came from a human, right? Like, that could be something that's interesting, you know, using some, I don't know how you do it, but using some method to do that. and then so all this content, social media, authenticating, and then synthesizing, like we're already overwhelmed with so much info. How do we get back to a simpler life, right? How do we get back to a simpler life? I don't know. So those are just some of my thoughts on that. Does anybody else?
Yeah,
I know
so
that's
we
not
have our
profound, but
yeah, we have our few students who also want to share some thoughts. Saif, I'm coming to you. So before I come to Saif, so Istiak, are you there? Istiak?
Yes, sir. I'm there.
Okay, so could you please turn your camera on and share your views, whatever we discussed next week? I mean, yesterday, last week.
Okay, sir.
Yeah, please
Um,
go ahead. So Todd, he is the person who I shared you the Gulliver journey. So he is the person who did that and who was suffering a lot. So Ishtiak, would you please give Todd McLeod a whole briefing as you did with me from scratch, that he can understand the scenario, whatever you faced, and how you are going to overcome, or
okay.
what is your next proposal? Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, that's cool. Okay, I'm unable to share my screen as well because of.
Okay, yeah. Just a second. Let me turn it on. Yes, go ahead.
Can you guys see in my screen?
yes.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So this is Gulliver, and few months back, I was started Gulliver's. When I'm seeing that AI content, that means when I'm first I test OpenAI's some of the models like Da Vinci, and which is working in like the generative AI. And the last meeting, Todd was giving us the spec, the how amazed he is generating the text. When I'm giving in a command, he generating all of those. So that time I thought that if any AI engine or model can generate uh, in a general purpose data, then why not we can collectively we can generate common or shared traveling infos, like if I see it that I'm just sharing my uh, if any traveler anyone can want to travel any countries, then they need a lot of problem, like touring guide problem, weather in the weather problem, cost of living, embassies, passport, and all of the specs are trying to connect it together. So I'm trying to uh, figure out all the problem in a same in the under the same umbrella. And I'm just logging to the admin panel for seeing how much content I generated last time. So I'm trying to bulk process the bulk content uh, based on the countries. Like anyone living in France, anyone want to travel in France, at that time uh, he can collect all the information related to France. So okay, I'm ending my screen as well. So here is the 8,275 post. All the posts are generated by the OpenAI. And if I'm going one of the content, it's travel guide. Like here is the all the sport related to France are listed in here. Mm, and
Wait, so all these are generated by Chat
yes.
GPT, all these blog posts?
Exactly. So in this testing, I'm just a couple of the places I did, and here is the 8,275 post. And You see, this is the enriched perfect guide to the Monsigned Michael tour, and then table of content, and then historical significance of the Monsigned Michael. You will love to know interesting
And
fact
hold
about
on. So when did you generate these manually or through an API?
through API, fully automated. The process are generated fully automated.
Wow, that's super cool, man.
Even image also generated by the AI. And
And
if you see analyzing the SEOs, the content is 2,653 words. Most of the article is 5,000 word above.
so everything we're looking at, did you build everything we're looking at?
Yes. So
Even the admin panel, you built the admin panel?
I'm using WordPress. This is a CMS, basically
Okay.
made with PHP. So
Okay.
I'm just for for the speedy purpose of work, I'm using this admin panel, and I'm just uh, inserted data. That means I created automation script and inserted in a WordPress way, implemented those data. I collected from the OpenAI and through the API, and inserted those data in the WordPress table as well.
And were you here for the conversation last week? Istiak?
Yes.
And
Yes.
so you saw that thing about planning an itinerary and then just clicking book it, right?
Yes.
What did you think
Even
about
not.
that?
Yeah.
নো
I'm
নো নো
just adding
ইশতিয়াক
little more.
ইশতিয়াক না না তুমি টড বলতেছে যে তুমি গত সপ্তাহে যখন টড ম্যাকলাউড ছিল ও আইটিনারি জেনারেট করতেছিল না, তুমি দেখছো না?
Yes.
তো ওই
Yes.
সময়
Yes.
তুমি ছিলা না, দেখছিলা না ওইটা?
Yes. Yes.
সেটাই ও বলতেছে। এখন বলো ওইটা তুমি
Yes.
দেখছো, হ্যাঁ বলো যে হ্যাঁ আমি ছিলাম,
Yes.
বলো।
Yes. The last meeting I was there, and I'm seeing all the generating. You have generated all the things and commanded as well.
Yeah. So then Google dropped your search ranking, is that right?
Exactly. If I'm seeing here is my website, and if I'm the last 16 month when I launched the website, so that time it's just a spike hockey stick curve like upgrade. But after a time when Google realized this is content generated by the AI, then he just fall down the rank, and here is the bottom lineup right now, and it's right now 0, 0, 0, 0 all the days.
How do you think Google realized it was content generated by AI?
Because Google regularly updated their core update, and and I'm comparing though when I'm searching on the Googles, who's are the top listed. So I compared their content and I compared my content. So definitely my content is better than others. But the thing is, I'm not ranking. So that's why I'm trying to figure out what's the problem is happening in here. So I have only one clause that is generated by AI.
Yeah. So
No
this is
main
a
clues.
so that's your
Yeah.
theory that you got dropped because your content's generated by AI.
Yeah.
That's your hypothesis, right?
Yeah. Right.
But this is a great example because building the product is only half of it. It's actually maybe only 3% of it, right? 10% of it. I mean, obviously,
Yeah.
if you build something amazing, people are going to come. But if you build something that's already, it's a competitive marketplace, it's a mature marketplace, right? Where there's a lot of options, right? Getting your customers, like that's a huge part of the challenge.
Yeah, even not only AI, I tried something statistically something more like in that some locations all way that data look like and graphically, and you see there is a graphically I try to represent something like UI UX, and trying to implement some fact as well, and
Yeah, it's great,
cost of
man.
living, and
But
tried.
it's also kind of old school, right?
Yes,
Like,
yes,
I
yes,
mean, it's
kind of old
interesting
school.
stuff, but you brought things together into one location, which could be useful for people, but it's
Yes.
not enough value add that people are finding this. It's actually really cool. It's really, really nicely done. And there are, you know, it's a lot of really good information in one place. But it's also, right, like what's the new way that people are going to be doing things with generative AI, right? Like, you know, we're all used to websites. We're all used to searching the web the way we search the web now. In the future, will it just be like, what places do you recommend I go for a vacation, right? Like here, let me see, can I share my screen?
Sure, sure.
Do you want to continue? Can I share? Is that okay?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, I
sure.
just stopped.
Go ahead. Yeah, Todd, go ahead.
Let me. Can you screen one? Can you see my screen?
Yeah, it's
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
it's
Right,
coming.
so
Yeah, I can see now.
this might not work actually on mine. That worked great. It's telling me Zoom quit unexpectedly. Can you hear me still? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's so weird. Do you see that? Don't show me this again. Don't.
Hello.
All right. Can you hear
Yeah.
me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but your screen stopped.
Yeah, I'm going to share again. Hold on.
Okay.
Now, do you see it?
Yeah, now I
Everybody?
can see. Yeah.
Also, I just want to say I have a little bit of a cold or something, so I look like I got hit by a truck, maybe. But that's what's going on. Not quite that bad. I have 10 days for a vacation. Where do you recommend I go in the world? Right, so hey, New Zealand, right? I'm ready for that. So I'm going to just click, you know, so like here are my ideas, and I could say, right, it's going to give us 10. I'm going to stop. What could I do what would I don't know, what would vacation plan here, we'll see this, plan a 10-day vacation for me in New Zealand, including my flight, my hotels and restaurants I can eat at each day. My flight, my hotels, sites to see, and restaurants I can eat at each day. Right, so this is going to run. We could come back and look at it, right? But you could see, I mean, we kind of did this last time, and you could see that, okay, right? Like it's really great. Istiak, am I saying your name right? Istiak?
Yes, right.
So it's a really great illustration, Istiak, of where things were. The web gives us information, and generative AI gives us understanding, right?
Right.
And so people don't know, people haven't made this shift yet, right? We are still making this shift. And by the way, if this is a clunky conversation, right, it's because metaphorically, allegorically, what we are doing is we have a machete and we've left the road that everybody's traveling on, and we are hacking our way into the jungle. Okay. And it's messy, and we're confused, and we're a little bit lost, and we're trying to figure out what this new terrain, this new territory is going to be like, right? We're moving into it. So this conversation is us being lost, necessarily so. And as we're lost, we move towards finding our way. The more we embrace being lost, the more we embrace Like, I don't know what's going on. This is weird. It's different. I'm used to doing things a certain way. Let's go back and talking about my website that I built and why it's not working, right? Let's get back on that road where I'm comfortable and familiar. The mind likes the familiar. The mind likes that which it knows. If you've ever been in a situation where you're completely out of your element, where you're like, what the heck is going on here, right? It's like, it's a little unsettling. That's like, you know, people challenging us with different ideas is unsettling because the mind likes the familiar. It likes what it knows. It likes to be right. And so what we're doing here is necessarily challenging, right? It's challenging us and we're lost. And I had a teacher one time say, in direction, I find my direction. When we're lost, we find our way. In Western culture, there's a beautiful song called Amazing Grace. It says, I was blind, but now I see. I was lost, but now I'm found, right? And so you are always lost before you're found. You're always blind before you see. And so this is a great illustration. And sometimes I could like ramble a little bit. Sorry, I apologize. But this is a great illustration of the old way, a website, categories, drill down and look at like the different countries. Which one should I go to, right? That's the old way. And, you know, and the web gives us information. Generative AI gives us understanding. It gives us understanding. And people don't know how to use it yet. And so the way we use it is, you know, like, hey, I have 10 days for a vacation. What should I do? And then it's like, well, here are some places you could go. It depends upon what you're into, right? And it starts, and they're like, yeah, okay, plan a 10-day itinerary for me in New Zealand, you know? And then it's like, okay, book it. Like Istiak, take your website, ChatGPT API, that onto the homepage, have it be the new travel, have a little video right at the top, and then a search box beneath. How do you do the new travel? You have a conversation with it. We're going to help you. You know, our system is going to help you find a great adventure for you. Here are some sample prompts you could try starting with. You could have like, you know, a couple of little things, and then it's just a conversation. And then when it all lists out, like, can you create the way for them just to click book it, right? Which is probably integrating with other APIs, right? A flight API, you know, like take your search over to Google API. Do you get some sort of, like, I saw my friend, I haven't watched it yet. My friend sent me a video of somebody who made $44 million off of a Google plugin. I don't know how you do that. I haven't seen that video yet. I'll find the link and share it. But maybe it's connecting with the Google plugin API, that's how you generate the revenue once they kind of like this thing and then book it. But that is like what is the new thing, right? And so the travel example, that's pretty amazing. But what will be additional ways that it's used? Like Istiak, I think that like if you built that, man, that's something that I could shop here in America. Like you could build that probably in a week. And then I could show that to a VC in America and say, hey, do you want to fund the new way of people booking travel? You know, but before you run out and build it, like I'll talk to, you know, Sunday, I'm meeting with a venture capitalist to discuss ideas. Right?
Did you like the idea, Todd? Istiak's idea?
You mean the one?
Yeah, I mean,
you old school, right? His website's
yeah.
Old school. So,
yeah, old school. You want him to restructure that in a new way using ChatGPT and other machine learning tool, right?
I think that you could run at that. I think that is something you could run at. But before you run at it, let's get another opinion. So I'll talk to my, like, don't go out and do any coding. Like, let me talk to my venture capitalist friend Sunday.
Yeah, that's okay. But you know? We have other students as well who are trying to say you something. So should we proceed with them as well? Yeah. So Deepu. Yeah. So before Deepu, Sadman, would you please share your views on what we just discussed, or how you think what should be the consideration whenever we start anything with AI tool? Sadman.
Yeah, I can share. Hi, hello, Sir Todd. I would like to share my viewpoint on generative AI. In 2019, I worked on a project, an official project for facial recognition attendance system. So I had to train the model, but the thing when COVID came in, so we had a problem, like there are 68 key points in human facial. So our model couldn't recognize with mask on. So we had to retrain the model, which has more confidence on the cheeks and foreheads so that it might recognize ourselves. So that was the thing. So my consideration was AI is never generate in case of generative AI. How can I evaluate that the information is correct because it is scrapped from the website? I mean, whatever the code it has learned from the Stack Overflow. That's why Stack Overflow blocked it. So even I do have plugins which help me through generating my codes, but that is actually also learning from it, from myself and from GitHub and other sources. So even though it generate contents, but it won't be never be original. Like ChatGPT works on till 2021. After that, anything it doesn't know. So my viewpoint is generative AI would be a great thing for assistance, but it won't never replace what we do actually, how we think or how we generate our own ideas, or we can share our own viewpoints. And in case of I would also like to have some viewpoints on state models, which is it. I agree that it has generated some more data, but how can I evaluate that those information are correct?
Yeah, Sadman, I searched, Googled it about that, and there is a available API as well who can detect bot generated text.
Yeah.
So this is also another service. Yeah, so and even I can solve this using another API like Quillbot. So Quillbot has a features. Let's say you generate text from ChatGPT first, then output from ChatGPT and input into the Quillbot and rephrase it, using Quillbot engines. Then Quillbot engine gives you another output with using ChatGPT's input in a way that it mimics humans' behavior or humans' way. Make sense?
Yeah.
So this is how we can get rid of this kind of penalties, whichever coming through search engines like Google, So maybe this could be a potential solution for this, but still maybe Google in a next month, Google come up with another machine learning API who can detect Quillbot algorithm as well. Makes sense? So there would be always hide and seek game. So how could we achieve those? So what would be our, ultimate goal? How we could, so eventually whatever I'm trying to say, if we always try to shift like this, so how could we stable and how could we beat search engines and how could we make our own things out of those API or those tools which is completely we depend on them. So
sir,
don't you think it is risky for us? Yeah, please.
Yeah, it's risky, sir. For ChatGPT version 4, Microsoft Bing uses ChatGPT version 4, but it didn't replace the original search. It comes as an assistance, right, on the right panel, so that I may have better information. I may have summarized information and another view section, so where I can search my own stuffs. So it's working as an assistance, and Microsoft has clearly said that don't rely upon it, don't depend upon it. It will work as an assistant. So if I generate my own IDs, in case of deepfake are all AI generated faces. We are created problems and then we are created the solution actually that doesn't exist. So to be honest, I believe that human will always have their own problems and human will always identify their own problems. AI can be a help to us, AI can enhance our life, but it will never something gonna replace of our own or the originality.
Yeah, so Todd, so what is your views on Sadman's view, Todd?
Yeah, 100%, completely agree. Technology is always a tool to enhance human capabilities, and that machines and humans work together, right? We use the tool, but and at the same time, the tool, the machine, right? Where we have a new development, and how is that new development going to integrate with us, and how are we going to use it? And so that's kind of the question I think we're exploring. And certainly there are flaws to it, and certainly, some of it does it better than others. And yeah, like what does it look like going forward? That's what's being explored. So the web was information, and generative AI is giving us more of an understanding. The web is more very succinct questions and queries, right? Top 10 travel destinations would be what I put in the web. Over here, it's more like, of a conversational approach to interacting, and an interactive process. It was a single search back over here. It's an interactive conversation over here. So we've moved towards more actually of a human way of interrelating with the machines to get understanding, as opposed to us having to go synthesize, each individual website and figure it out on our own, get overwhelmed by all the information, right? It's nice just to have somebody tell us something. And that's super interesting because of the human psyche. I just have to share this. I really emphasize thinking about psychology and humanity and who we are as humans when you start developing products, because you're developing the products for humans. And the more you understand how humans work and how the human psyche works, the more you could create products that really mesh with it. And so social media is really, successful because belonging and being social creatures is essential to who we are. And that's why social media has done so well. But that wasn't clearly evident to people in the 90s, the importance of belonging. Most people aren't even aware of the importance of belonging in their own psyche. They aren't aware of like the Harvard study of adult development, the longest running study. I've talked to you about it before, right? But, belonging, human psyche. And so also in the human psyche, right, is this sense of it comes out of our ability to have empathy. It's connected to our social nature. Part of our social nature is we have empathy. And so empathy, means I could empathize. I can look at somebody else, look them in their eyes. I could look at Mustaine, and I could understand and feel, what is his experience like? What is his life like? I could put myself in his shoes. We even have something called mirror neurons, where we mirror the behavior of others when we're communicating with them, even to the point where our voice changes, our inflections change, how we talk, our accent. You hang out in a culture long enough, you start talking in the style of that culture. So we have empathy and we have mirror neurons, and this all gives rise to something called anthropomorphism. And so anthro being like anthropology, humanity, A-N-T, I'll put it into the chat here so that you guys have that word because it's a big word. Anthropomorphism. I'm not sure I spelled it right, so I'm going to Google it real quick. Hold on. Oh, I did spell it right. So here's anthropomorphism. I'm just going to put it back into the chat. And anthropomorphism is the attribution of human characteristics or behavior to a god, animal, or object. And so the way anthropomorphism will work, like you have a dog and you might be like, hey, my dog is happy. I love my dog is hungry, or you have a car, right? And in America, people might say, isn't she a beauty? She could go so fast, and they start talking about their car like it's a human. And even if you look at the design of cars, right? And so Apple computers famous for design, but if you look at the design of cars, really well-designed cars, the front of the car looks like a human. It's got the eyes, it's got the face, the mouth, right? And they design things to kind of like, and so it's real easy for humans to attribute human qualities to things which aren't human. That's anthropomorphism. And so when we chat with ChatGPT, when we have this conversation, like people are like, there's been some articles, I'm disturbed what ChatGPT said to me, and they start to attribute a human quality to the computer, right? And so that's, I forget why I started telling you that, but that's a really interesting characteristic of the human psyche. And we're moving from, the machine where it's like this, single search. It's not a conversation. It gives you information. We're moving to, it's a conversation and it gives you understanding. And that's a really big insight. And if we get nothing else out of this talk today, this exploration we're doing together, if we only get this understanding, this insight that we're moving towards a conversational approach that gives us understanding. And then there's also this problem of people starting to misattribute human characteristics to machines and anthropomorphize the machine, right? Like, and start to think that the machine has feelings, and like it's really trippy, man. It's trippy. It's really sci-fi, science fiction, right? It's very human-like when you communicate with it. It's like having a conversation, but that's the shift. So what was the question? What was Shadman's views? What did I think about Shadman's views?
My question was, should we really depend upon the generative AI while we are making decision, or it should be used just as a tool? I mean, in last session, you were referring that we can generate ideas or startup ideas from it, but it is something that learn from the web actually. It will never point out the problem in our society or in our life. So ideas will always come from us and ideas will be always authentic from us. That was my viewpoint actually.
Yeah.
I mean, in case of business cases as well, I mean, people who are working on the relevant field, they will point out the problem and they will point out the solution actually. I mean,
yeah.
For Tesla, Elon Musk referred that it will have full autonomous car, but for going through level 5, we still needs more years for perfection.
All right, so ideas come from us, but there are so many of us, and there are so many ideas, right? That we individually, our brains can't wrap our heads around all of it and synthesize it and then create understanding from it. So that's where this tool is really amazing. Instead of me looking at 10, 20 different websites and trying to figure it out, it just, in a conversational way, looked at thousands and thousands of websites and then gave me understanding, right? So in some ways, it makes so many websites irrelevant, right? And like, how does that impact search? And, Google, has been slow on this because they know that it completely upends their business model. And the old business model is you search and you get all these ads, right? The first page of results, a ton of them are ads. And then they get revenue from that. The new one is this conversational approach. How do they monetize it? Well, it delivers a customer of a higher value, right? Where I could just book it right there. Instead of me having to go to another website, I'm right at Google and I book it right there. But
yeah, I mean, I can share one problem with Google Maps. I mean, it may work. Google Maps always suggests the fastest route to my location or to my destination. But the thing is, the route isn't always correct. I mean, the algorithm might work in other places, but somehow it's wrong in my places. So it's not always static something, it's always dynamic.
All right, I see Saif, you have your hand up.
Yeah, actually I was, I wanted to share my ideas, like what I have think about the project idea. So I was waiting for you to get my chance, and in the meantime I was searching on the ChatGPT that how can I combine Golang and machine learning with it. So in the meantime it suggested your book, and it is like I think the book name is Go for Data Science by Todd McLeod. So I was like that. It is giving the nice suggestions. So I think actually my idea is like what you told, that idea should be like this, that it will solve a problem. I think I am facing a problem, and many other people all around the world are also facing the same problem. And I think it could be a good idea to be implemented for our future generation also. My idea is like, can I share my screen, that I have prepared a doc, and it will be much more easier to pitch the document for me.
Yeah.
Go
ahead. Go ahead.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
My doc. Yeah. This is the bullet points I am having right now, and the idea is like that it will solve the problems of the educations. In the current world, we are going to study in America or US, Europe, or other countries. But when we are looking for universities and the other scholarship information and the processes and the things, that it's all the informations are scattered. Like if I want to go to the Norway, then they have the other websites, the congested they have just their information, but they don't have others countries information. And the dad have just only the European or the German universities information. USA has others, so it is more scattered. And in this part, some other agencies are taking the advantage for the students. They are charging higher rates to get the information, and sometimes they are frauds, and the students get lost within the system. So I think that if we can build the system where we can provide the students the scholarship information and the university admission processes and the visa processes, all the things in the combination process. And I think we can have the multiple plan to monetize these systems. Like a student can come and prepare them for the exam. Like they can because we can use the chat gpt to create the questions and the creative questions, so that they get more chance to practice, and they get more prepared. Because if we don't if we don't educate ourselves, or we don't if we don't practice or something, we don't learn the like traditional learning process. Because nowadays traditional learning process are getting setbacks, but having setbacks. But I think education is most important, and we can solve this problem. So my idea is like that we can create an websites or some platform where a student can have their scholarship information, admission requirements, universities, and the immigration process information of the all over the information of all over the world, so that students don't have to look one website to other website to other website. So we are just like centralize the information in one place. And the ideas are it is going more vast in the sections. So it is my one idea in brief, but I have one another idea, which is I think it is more sophisticated, and it is related to the healthcare systems. And I think we cannot completely replace the doctor and their prescriptions, but we can utilize the AI and the machine learning and the chat GPT or the generative AI to get the prevention or the get the precautions, how we can take precautions from such healthcare related systems. Like we can have the information which one hospital has the best doctor for this what can I say, this illness or the sickness, where I can get the best medicines, and how can I get the appointment systems, and all these things can be combined. And for the machine learning part, we can just upload the image or the systems, and it will just analyze and give us a result or the result, and it may help the doctor to get more decisions like the breast cancers and the others cancer related imaging are now getting analyzed by the via the machine learning and the data sets, and they are getting more closer like analysis reports and something like that. So I think these two are the complete complete two different project idea, but if we can cultivate on these things, and then we can come up with the more sophisticated and the more reliable systems that may help the peoples to get more to get their life easier, and it can be monetized easily. I think that's my idea actually.
Anybody have any thoughts on that?
Oh, actually, I want to tell two more things. And as you were talking about the RSA encryption models and the TSA factor, two-factor authentication, and all the other authentications and the things, but most of us, I think a few of us know about the quantum computing, and if it is going to be public or it is coming in the real, then all these RSA or the encryption process are going to be going to face a huge challenge to protect our data, cause it could drastically change the algorithms calculation process, or drastically change the calculation times and the other things. So I think we have to be prepared for that parts also, because combination of quantum computing and the generative AI could much more sophisticated, and I think it is going to be a much more world changing, or the like the transition from this much to that much higher level of the internet era of ourselves. So we have to be prepared or think of that level too, because I think DeepWave, Google, and IBM are currently working, and they are very closer to launch it to the public users also. And I think IBM's giving us the using capabilities of the quantum computing also. And by the Golangs, we can utilize that, because Golang is concurrency handled by default, and quantum computing can have the ability to calculate or the process more data at a time. So combination of this could be much more sophisticated also. That's my point of view and project idea also.
I like all of that, Saif. Thank you for sharing it. I really like that you brought up quantum computing, because quantum computing is a huge thing that's coming up. And Deepu, I see have your hand up, and we'll get to you in just 1 second. But also there's CRISPR, which is editing the genetic code. And then there's also robots, which are becoming increasingly agile. And so we have this confluence and this convergence of some pretty extraordinary technologies which are just emerging. One is generative AI, one is quantum computing, one is genetic editing with CRISPR, and then the other one is robotics. And it's interesting even start to bring in those aspects. Like, is there some sort of a, service that could be created that integrates generative AI with robotics? Or does CRISPR and generative AI play a role, or do they connect each other in some ways? I mean, these aren't questions I've actually thought about, but they're interesting to start to raise. Saif, when I look at your university applications proposal, it's really nicely put together, and I commend you for the clarity of the thought process. Really well done. But I also feel like I'm looking at the way things used to be. When I look at that, like it's a database application, it's a website, and it's more about information, old way, and the new way is about understanding. And so what would that application for universities look like in the new way, right? Like, it gives understanding of all the information. So, I go and I'm like, hey, I'm interested in going to university. And I just enter that. And it says, great, what do you want to go there for? Well, I want to be able to have a better job. Well, what do you like to do? Or here are the fields. Here, I don't know what I want to do. What fields will generate a good revenue, a good income for me and my family? These fields will, right? So that's one level of that. An even better level is if there's some sort of way that it's about understanding. Is there some sort of way that generative AI can have an understanding of me, and it could have an understanding of university systems, and it could say, Todd, here are 7 universities that really fit for you, and here are the fields that I think you should study at each of those universities. You're really creative, technology, business, you like working with people. And so there's like innovation, entrepreneurial innovation in technology at the University of McGill, right? And they currently have these scholarships available. And, it looks like I don't know, but like that kind of a thing where it simplifies my life, where I don't have to go get information and figure it out, but it already has all of the understanding and it just kind of connects me. Like that's like, ooh, that's a next level solution, right? But then how would it get that understanding of me, right?
Actually, I have in the doc, I have prepared the doc in the details way that in that part, it has the recommendation systems added that based on your profile makings and the level that you have filled up the forms and the chat. If we can, if we want to add the chatting systems, chatting way, then we can implement it with, or we can add the profile of an student. He will enter his profile, and based on the profile, the recommendation system will work, and it will automatically generate it from the data and fetching the data from the web and present it to the user or the students. So I have planned it, and it is in the docs that the recommendation systems and how it will make it is not only the recommendation system that I am thinking about. I am thinking about the preparing the student also, the preparing the immigrants also, so that they it will recommend that you should take this exam or this preparation for getting these university, and if you need to get those certifications or those things completed, if you want to get so it is much more sophisticated because we are transitioning from the website informative website to understandable websites era or the internet era. So it has the basic UI that that will have some information so that it will attract the user or the customer, that we can have information there. And when they are creating their profile and their systems, they are making their profile, then it is have the system has the basic data about the user, and based on the data, the recommendation system will start working, and the generative AI will take over the students. The generative AI will take up the previous websites or informative assistance, and they will get the understanding feelings, and they will have the chattings or the things and go on. And I have planned it in a way that it is a much more unstructured data, so that it may have used the NoSQL or the NoSQL like MongoDB databases, so that because every user is unique and their data structure and their process will be unique. So it might have the less relational in between them, but each users or each application's data will be very informative to generate or train the systems for much more accurate and for getting and analyzing data. And actually this is the base part that I have planned, but the underneath plan is that when the students all over the world is putting their information in the websites, then it will have the much more collective database or the data center, and we can extend this data with the data pipeline and the distributed systems, so that we can implement the machine learning models to get the how the students all over the world thinking, and how the universities or the others institutional process are thinking, and they are evolving, so that we can predict our future steps, how we can build our career, how we can so that we can recommend the user that you may want to pursue this career, because university or these industries are working on this product, and this might need these types of your skills, so that you can get that job, or so that you can get there other than faster than other students, those who are not using our website. So it is much more it is like the you are gathering the students and the universities or the industries, the institutions at under the hood, and by that you can you are opening the way to their career or the future. You are predicting the futures, like that how things are going to move. Like 3 months back, we didn't know much about ChatGPT, but now ChatGPT is a huge thing, and much people are coming to ChatGPT than Google to search there. So if we know that from 2017 or the 7 years back, like yeah, 16 or 17, the OpenAI is working on something that, and we have that information, so that then we could make ourselves pretty much ready for that, that something will come up like this in recent years, and this we need to be prepared. Like most of us don't know about quantum computing, and one fine morning quantum computing will release, and we will lost all our data in the e-commerce website, like credit card information, and then we will think that, oh, we don't know about that, and we lost our money. But if we use these generative AI and the machine learning process, so that we can notify people, because we know the students, we know the institutions and what they are doing, so we can give a recommendation to the students or the future generation that industry is moving towards this, and you need to be prepared for that. So that's the plan that I want to working on. And because and the most important part is how can we generate money from here, because we need to be we need to generate money to run this process. And my thing is that student need institution or the university, and as well as the institutions need university. So later time we can add some monetization process from the big institutions, that if you want, because we have the students informations and their progress, so it will be much more easier to the please they can ask or search from anywhere in the world. They can find the right person to get on board easily, and with the right skill sets, and a student can find their right direction and their or like the future path, so that they will also pay us, because it is we are helping them to get directed their life correctly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think this could be, we can charge the student less, and the
Oh,
company.
yeah.
Yeah.
I like the idea a lot, Saif. And I think it's a great illustration of, what does the new paradigm of understanding look like, and how do you develop that understanding? And that's currently not being done. There's obviously some big challenges and problems to solve there. I think a great place to start exploring that is to start using generative AI, ChatGPT, to see what kind of understanding it can return as we enter information about an individual. What kind of results does it give back to us? What kind of an understanding does it have of the universities and scholarships? But cool, man. I love the creativity. I love how you're exploring it. I definitely think there's something to be solved there. I don't know how much of a it's going to be like so amazing. Like that's going to be one you're going to have to market a little bit more to get your customers, as opposed to we created something that's super needed and easy to sell. But maybe not. Deepu, you had your hand up.
Yeah, actually, I don't get your last question.
Oh, just customer acquisition, right?
Actually,
but that's something to be solved. But I think it's a good idea, man.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, I will work on this process. Actually, what I do is solve my problems, and I think it might be others' problems too. So, I
great
research that people's following if they are facing same problem. So I have talked to some students, and I have actually I think it is a nice to help to be to develop this product, because it will be helpful if it is not making so much money also, but I will build it anyhow, because it will help much more students to get information from one place. And things I don't know, actually Facebook was just for fun, but now it is in the whole world, so I think it could be more I don't know.
Really think about how you could generate how you could use generative AI. Like, I entered this query up here, and the query is, I'm a creative person. I know technology, programming, and business. I like creating businesses. Where should I get a doctorate, right? And then it gave me this information. And then if I wanted to, I could drill down into this conversation, right? And keep asking it. And like, I am also Canadian. Do programs in our doctorate would you recommend any Canadian universities for a doctorate, for a DBA, right? So like that type of a deal, just really look at like look at like how you might use generative AI. But I want to broaden the conversation. Instead of going deep on one thing, I kind of want to just generate a lot of ideas and see what ideas come out of the community. So let's jump to somebody else, and then we could come back if you've got some more to share. Deepu, you had something?
Yes, sir. Yes, I want to pitch one thing. This is so amazing that.
Let me hold on. I'm having a hard time hearing you. Let me turn my volume up. All right, say it again.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. I want to pitch my idea, and this is wondering that my idea is almost as like a sci-fi. I had a thought about 3 ideas, and 2 ideas is as same to same sci-fi. And the most important is I am currently working in a hospital. That is, can you listen me, hear me? Okay.
Yes, great.
So so I was thinking about a virtual doctor. The common practice is actually the common practice is patients going to doctor, and they are talking with doctor about their problems, and doctor, after listening the patient's situation, patient's health condition, doctor prescribe them medicines, and if needed, they also prescribe some investigation. So after doing that investigation, patient again going to the doctor and show them that prescription, investigation result. So after getting the investigation result, doctor cross-check the previous medicine, and if needed, they add some more medicine, or they or the doctor remove some medicine or adjust the dose and also duration. So I was thinking about a virtual doctor, but I know this is extremely risky, and is it possible or not? the policy of a country, of health ministry of any country will allow it or not, I don't know. But the problem is, as I'm currently working in a hospital, I see we have some doctors, we have to take appointment before 20 days, before 30 days. Sometimes it is impossible to get in touch with the doctor within 2 or 3 days. And some patients are from remote area, they get so trouble to find out the doctors, especially in some cases it happen. Suppose I have some problem in my body, but I can't understand that which doctor I should consult. Maybe I have pain in my chest, and I am thinking, is it occurring for my gastric, or is it a heart disease? I don't know. Then if I going to any heart specialist, he say this is not my case, this is something else. And this is happen also with some other problem. So what I thought, in the AI system, anybody ask him about his body condition, and the system will reply him with some more question, that do you have this problem also? Suppose the patient will say yes, then he will check some more cases, and after that the system will prescribe him, not prescribe him medicine, it may prescribe him some investigation, or in our website or in our system, multiple doctor will be connected, and it will solve this problem.
Assalamu
And, the
alaikum.
system will connect the particular doctor with that patient, so that he will get
Jason, I
a
didn't
initial
see my
response.
email in time.
And overall, this is my this was my thought. This was my thought actually.
So I think that what came to me when you were talking was that, if the computer could do a screening, right? Like it could be like, hey, here, I have a pain in my chest. Is it a gastric issue, or is it a heart attack? Like, what's going on, right? Like, if it could do, and then ask you more questions to help figure it out. And then, if then it could connect you to a doctor also, right? Like, hold on, finding a doctor for you. And then you just begin a video conference, and the doctor says, okay, I saw your symptoms. I saw that, the system recommended this. That all looks good. So what you need to do is, get some Pepto-Bismol and, take a little bit or whatever, right? Like, but yeah, I think that's great, man. I think that humans are limited. Our individual minds are limited. Doctors have biases. One of their bias is frequency. They have a frequency bias, right? And so doctors in America might see somebody presenting with symptoms and diagnose it as something, but not realize that it's really a tropical disease that they never see, because this person just went on a vacation to the tropics somewhere and they got some dengue fever, but the doctor doesn't really see that. So the doctor doesn't consider it. And the doctor forgot to ask, have you been traveling recently? Right. So I think that a system that does, and I know there's already stuff out there that's like that, but if, I don't know the market, but if it could be streamlined, if that's not already there, that could be pretty amazing, helping people figure out their symptoms, because there's so much information. And there's a lot of things where, people get the wrong diagnoses, or the diagnosis isn't discovered for many years,
Yes, sir. That's why I thought it, because initially the system will generate some possibilities, and the doctor can see, that the system thought this might be this type of problem, and he can understand that the system is thinking that the problem is something like this, and then he also can think that is that correct or not. If correct, then this is okay. He will add something, or he can say that The concern is without the concern of doctor, we will not do anything, and maybe the health ministry will not permit it. Actually, at least in our country, it will not permit maybe. So the whole system will be connected with doctors, patient, and the AI system.
It's great. I like it, you know, but yeah, we just have to, we're just throwing ideas out right now. And I guess one of the challenges with healthcare is just the liability that comes with it, particularly in America. There's a definite argument to be made for better to provide somebody with a potential solution where they have no solution. So people in places of the world where they don't have access to great medical care, if they could have access to a service which is accurate 98% of the time, right? Great, that's better than they had nothing. But in America, that 2% of the time that you're wrong, like a system recommends that, oh, you're fine, take Pepto-Bismol, and you die from a heart attack, and then they sue you in America, right? Like that could be untenable in America. But I think that there's, you know, a definite case for that. And it could be a really altruistic humanitarian kind of a deal. You could partner with programs like Doctors Beyond Borders or Doctors Without Borders, which go around and provide medical services to people in regions where they don't have it. But this has come up quite a bit, the medical diagnoses. And there's a gentleman here in Michigan that has his doctorate, and he's interested in doing something in this space. So that's definitely being kicked around. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Anybody else got any thoughts or ideas they want to share? It's a really nice conversation. I'm enjoying it.
ইশতিয়াক তোমার কোনো আর নাই আইডিয়া? আর কারো কোনো আইডিয়া আছে ইশতিয়াক?
না স্যার, কারেন্টলি আমি আর কিছু দেখাচ্ছি না।
Okay. So I was just asking to my students in my local way that if they have any thoughts to share, that's it.
Yeah, actually, sir, I have. I want to add with the Deepu Bhaiya is that actually sir, actually the process would be like this, that someone will ask the system that I am having a chest pain with the fever and I am having an ache in my right leg or the right hand. So they are giving the symptoms, and system will match the AI will match the systems with the all possible, like that you may have heart attack, you may have the lung failure, you may have the artery problems, and you may have the supravenous problems like this. And then system will recommend something like that. You may have these and these problems, and we are connecting you with the doctor, or the first stage doctor, the emergency responder doctor, the ER doctors we call. Then they will analyze that this person, they already, the system, from the systems, they knows this person's situations, that they have these symptoms, and that these types of actually and for the emergency or the for I have a great interest in medical subjects, so that I know that sometimes doctors forget to ask some relevant questions, like you already said that did you travel earlier, what did you eat, and something like that question. Sometimes doctor may miss. In my local area, one doctor missed that to ask the patient that do you have any allergic reactions, and due to that they forgot to ask that questions when they put the injections for paralyze injections before the operations. That person got died cause the allergic reaction. So when the people is coming to the systems is asking the people all the necessary questions. So the doctor might doctor or the assistants needed previously to manually ask, and they are asking the questions and they're giving that answers by verbally, or like they're talking, and we can implement the natural language process, like we talk and it will be processed via the API, and the system will get the data ready for the doctors to analyze and directly go to see the doctor. So it will help the doctor to attend more patients in less times, and they won't forget to ask all the necessary questions from a particular patient, so they don't miss the system. So it will increase the accurate analysis of that reason or the medications or the things. And more of these things, a doctor might not know all the companies, all medical companies equipments or the medicines that these may contain, and the things, because it is sometimes it is they forgot, or they don't know that new medications have come for this, and it is much more helping for the people. And
Oh yeah, there's a lot of really interesting things. Again, you're speaking, Saif, to the limited capacities of the human mind to understand all the information that's out there. So there's a lot of information. The web gave us information, right? And now generative AI is giving us understanding. It's synthesizing that information and giving us understanding. And you're really speaking to that again, like a doctor doesn't have knowledge of the new medicine, right? Like, how do we get that understanding? What kind of a system? Let's not dive too deep into the specifics of any one idea. I think just getting the ideas out there, and also just sort of looking at how we're looking at the ideas, right? And really this, one of the things that's really emerged from this conversation for me is this paradigm shift from the way the web was, the way it was hierarchical, the way it gave us information, and the way generative AI is giving us understanding. It's clunky, it's early days, but can that understanding, because like even in hearing how some of these systems are described, they're being described in a hierarchical way, but really what the generative AI would do is it wouldn't need to be told which questions to ask. It would look at all of the information and it would know which questions to ask. So let's not dive too deep into that. I was interested in hearing from Talal, the other professor that's on this call, if he's had any thoughts from all of this. Talal, are you there?
Yeah, Professor Talal, are you there? Talal bhai asen?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
Yeah, please, would you please
Go ahead, Mohsen.
Yeah. Yes.
What are your thoughts on all of this?
About this this package. Hi, Todd. How are you?
Nice to see you.
I'm
again.
actually, yeah, nice to see you. I'm actually moving around. I left my office and I was just went for a haircut, and then I went out. So I'm just sitting in it's a class. It's a media cluster, media center, where all the everything related to the media, and the university, part of the university is also there here. It's kind of like a research innovation and all those stuff happening. It's a very nice meeting place, so I can log into my university net and everything, no problem, even if I'm here. So I came here, but there's a lot of yeah, it's nice. So once a while, it's nice to have a little bit little change. I just followed a little bit, not very much, but I think it's talking about this the medical package, the health care system app for the healthcare, right?
Yeah, and also just all of generative AI. So generative AI being like ChatGPT, and this new way of humans and machines working together.
Right. I was actually got quite interested in the ChatGPT, and I wanted to know what you guys are thinking, because you are more as the expert in this field. I'm starting to get interested in this, and what my central question that came, and I was actually chatting with the ChatGPT right now while you were having a, so I was trying to get to know what it can do. And I found, I wanted to know things like, say, if you ask a question to the ChatGPT, you can get a very general question answers, which it has been trained for. And then how do you actually adapt to, to your particular use or particular domain where you want to? So I already got the answer that like you actually have a fine tuning and the way to do that, and then you can, train it with all the more and more data and everything. So this I understood, but I don't know the technical details. Of course, the others are there. So I hope that is correct, right? What I just said, is that the way
Correct.
that you actually did that?
Yes.
Yeah. Because I was thinking to, I'm associated with the university, one of the universities in Bangladesh, and I know that there are a lot of. We also have this recently hired a professor in NLP, so natural language. Is the expert in this field. So I was thinking how to use this ChatGPT. I was just tempted to call the people down there and ask, after listening to you guys, that how do I actually use this one for the benefit of like promoting the university, because there is a huge gap. And I also got very much inspired by Ishtiaq's presentation. That was that he had actually managed to get all the information in one place without really putting too much, and real good information. And those are the information that has been actually trained for already. But to adapt to my system, my university, my local thing. So that is something that I don't know how much time it takes and how you can actually train it and what kind of data you need and how long it takes and what is the computational aspects and all those things. This I don't know. But these are the things that could be interesting for practical purpose in the university. And coming back to this medical thing, I was quite interested a few years back to actually thinking about the system already. So I'm here with a group of my people. I also took one of my colleagues to Bangladesh once, and also recently last year I applied for a project in Norwegian with the Norwegian Research Council for including Bangladesh, two of the universities, like the University of Engineering and Technology and the Dhaka University and the University of Bergen together for a funding, which we actually scored very good. We couldn't get it because there was only one project that got in the whole of Bangladesh. It's a very political and geological, thing where they want to put money. And it was basically on health informatics to build the and the AI, to using machine learning and AI, artificial intelligence, and to create. It was basically on the capacity building, but of course it's based on the innovation driven that we actually need that kind of education in Bangladesh, and this has been we have a group that is already working also in Norwegian health system, so they have been to building up developing this whole system, which I'm not very familiar with because it's not my field. I'm actually coming from the outfield, but I have a common interest for that. I also actually sent one of the application for the prescription system. Actually, I was also part of this application, so this was the biggest application, the big application which I sent to the Norwegian Research Council. But previously I sent an application that was to this Bill Gates Foundation, in fact, but only for a small money. That was $100,000 or something. But didn't fall into that category, but it was almost. I didn't know about, so we couldn't go to the next level. But this was all about how to create the to, this prescription system, the way that we prescribe, the doctors prescribe, is first of all, you cannot read things. Secondly, there is no record of it. Thirdly, that you can buy any kind of medicine you want. It doesn't matter. No check and things. So we also took contact. I did personally take contact with the DG Director General of Health in Bangladesh and all those to see how they could help or something. So, but I could not go very far because it's a huge thing. So what Ishta, or what I think Deepu was proposing, that something he wants to build an app, and the question is, how do you get into the system? So the one that I sent, that idea was a little bit interesting, because the one I sent to this Bill Gates Foundation, it was this about bottom-up design, not the top-down design. Because if you want to do the top-down design, that is, you want to build a then you need a political, support, and which is very difficult to get. And you cannot just enter there, because they have their own mind, they have their own soul, they have their own, so you just cannot get in there to that circuit, that that elite, and they have their own plan already made. Okay, and it's very difficult to convince them. So we thought that, okay, why don't we do it from bottom? That is, we go to local communities and we start building up these small, little by little, like database. So, for instance, go to the doctors, a local community, go to all the doctors. The doctors have their own patients, and they have a connection with the pharmacy, and then you make a connection to them. And then you have introduce a verification system, a two-way verification system, so that there is no duplicacy or of the data, or no, so no, nothing. So there are a few things, which details I don't exactly remember. It was a few years back. So I'm kind of interested in that. But I didn't listen completely what Deepu was saying. But if you want. So I'm interested in things, but I don't know exactly. So,
do you have any idea? Do you have any idea that we can use ChatGPT or any other machine learning,
right,
like generative AI, to thus we may start our own venture? We may raise, we may reach out to venture capital, and we make a firm, including Todd McLeod, sir. So, do you have any idea or any suggestion for us for this?
Oh, okay. So you're thinking of some new idea that could be converted into some kind of a venture. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, as I said that. Like the thing that I just started to think, got the first question came like, how do I adapt ChatGPT to a particular domain, and how do I actually train it, and how quickly, because it is computationally very challenging, I suppose, and also data-wise, to get data is not that it would be challenging. So
no, we are not. Maybe there is a misunderstanding. We are not going to train ChatGPT. We are going to use whatever ChatGPT has or generative AI has already. We are going to use their API. We are going to subscribe their API as a subscription basis, and we need just ideas to connect them. We are more focused on generating ideas, make a service, sustainable service, and process it, go through the customer and serve it. That's how.
Yes, that is the reason why you need to train it also, because it's not enough what the train it has been. So it is the thing is, because you want to give a domain specific and application specific service. So actually, a week ago, I had a discussion with a friend. We were having a discussion, and that was one of the things that was okay. There is a guy. He's sitting in. I don't know if you know Hassan. He's our friend. He's sitting in the in the Bangladesh.
Yeah,
I
Hassan
think,
Bhai from Startup Bangladesh, right?
yeah, you remember we met him?
Yeah.
I,
Iku. His
yeah,
name is
so
Iku.
he's Yehitu, and
Hitu. Yeah,
he
yeah.
was right,
Mhm.
right. So there is a possibility that if we have a good idea, we can actually promote there, and that he will be able to support us in that.
Yeah,
For
Todd
it is
McLeod are exactly doing these with us as well. This mission is led by Todd McLeod, sir. Actually, the session was for him because he asked us to come up with some ideas that he can
right.
filter, he can
So
process
that's
it and bring his to his neighbors. He is surrounded by a lot of venture capitalists in California, you know.
okay. So that's very good. Okay,
I'm in
that's
Yeah.
super.
Michigan, actually.
Okay, that's super.
And
So
yeah,
the one of the
Talar Rahman, do you know one of the CEO of Google's company is his brother-in-law? Okay,
oh, okay, that's very good.
Alphabet companies, yeah.
Alphabet's company, yeah.
Yeah.
So he has
Oh,
a great
that's very
connection.
good.
So he just helping us if we could reach out, if we could bring
Ah,
some ideas that can serve people's problem or extend humanities. You know, there are a lot of things which humans as a human we need, right? We
oh,
our
I see,
belonging. Yeah, yeah.
I see,
So think out of
I
the
see.
box as you are also good at mathematics, right? So the
And
things
you don't
are, yeah, sorry, go
you
ahead.
don't have to
Yes,
come up with an answer right now, Talal or
right,
anybody else, right? I
right.
mean,
It's
this is an explorative process, but my
Yeah,
brother-in-law, who really has his finger on the pulse of technology, um, he's the one who's the CEO of an alphabet company. He was like, this is so significant what has been created. Most people don't realize it. Those of us in Silicon Valley who are in the know are very aware of it. And this is as significant, if not more significant, than the creation of the World Wide Web. And it's completely early days, and the technology is a little bit clunky, but it's going to be as disruptive as the web. And there's as many opportunities available right now as in the early days of the web. And it's a real paradigm shift. So what we've been talking about here today is that shift in the paradigm from the web was about information and hierarchical data, kind of drilling down deeper. I go to this website, go a little deeper into that website, drill down. The web is about information. Generative AI is about understanding, right? It took all that information, it synthesized it, it understands it, it can return results to us. And it's not always accurate, but clunky early days. And it can be confidently wrong. That's a beautiful phrase. It could be confidently wrong, right? So it can tell you something with confidence that's completely incorrect. So, but that's the idea, is just this exploration to see, okay, what challenges or problems are going to arise and can be solved with this new technology, right? There's problems that can be solved with it that already exist. There's new problems that are going to arise because of it. What are the ones that are going to arise? And so, like early days in the web, it was amazing to see text and a picture, right, that came from somewhere else. 10 years later, we had YouTube and social media, right? Well, what's going to be in a couple of years because of generative AI? What are the things that we don't see now, but in 10 years from now, we'll say, of course, it's obvious. That's the only way you apply it. And so, you know, as people are talking, I was listing out some of the industries that generative AI is going to disrupt, meaning it's significantly going to change these industries. Social media is going to be disrupted and significantly changed because a tremendous amount of content is going to be created. How do you validate authentic content? How do you deliver good content still to people when you could have tons of stuff? Search is going to be disrupted. There's a whole new way of searching, right? And having this model of ad revenue based upon search, a new model needs to be created. There's a new way of searching. Academia is going to be disrupted. Students are having generative AI write their papers, right? Blog posts, we saw, you know, from Ishtiaq, is that the name? Ishtiaq with the website, Istiaq. Istiaq
yes,
had all of his blog
is
posts
there.
created, right? With generative AI, right? So content creation is going to, you know, be this thing, and that's going to disrupt people who write blog posts. that might disrupt people who write books, that might disrupt the media, people who write news articles, that might disrupt news, video news, right? Like it all could be automatically generated. Well, does that mean that then we're going to have some synthesis which is created specifically for me? These are the things that are important in the world that we think you should know about. And these are also the things that are important to you that you want to know about. And each day I could just watch my own news anchor delivering news just for me, you know? Right?
Yeah.
It's generated just for me. It's like, those are the kinds of questions. Could there be a news channel that creates news with an anchor that I watch and that is tailored for me? And then I could switch. No, I want to see a woman. I want to see, you know, and I could choose what my anchor looks like, right? And it delivers the news for me, just for me. But that's kind of weird. But is that what's gonna happen? So we've been talking a long time. I have one more thing I want to share with everybody, just to give you just so you think about it, and to also hear your thoughts on it, and also so you can explore it. But before I share that, I have waited till the end to share it because I wanted to hear all of your thoughts. But before I share that, I want to see if anybody else has anything they want to jump in and share. And I'm stretching right now, by the way, which is why I'm standing up, because my legs were getting a little bit tired.
It's okay.
Here's
You
my leg.
get relaxed, no problem. So yeah, so student, go for it. Is there anyone who left behind to share his idea?
And
Yeah,
try to keep
Hasib.
your responses to a couple of minutes or a minute or two.
Yeah, okay.
Actually,
So
I want
Hasib,
to add.
Hello, can you hear me?
হ্যাঁ বলো Hasib.
I share a dog with Dog McClown.
Okay. Yeah, so
Where
explain. He's seen it. I noticed he's seen it. He opened with your dogs. He opened your dogs. So yeah.
I
Okay.
didn't read it. I glanced at it because I didn't have time to reflect upon it because people were talking and I didn't want to miss what people were saying. So I'll
Yeah,
look
so
at
Hasib,
that.
yeah,
We can
Hasib,
look
go
at
ahead
that
and
right now
explain
together.
things quicker. Does he can understand? Quick,
Here, I'll
one
bring it
minute.
up. I'll bring it up and we
They
can
are
look at it together.
in the dog. There are two ideas. One is for developer. One is for student who can we can make a app like a tutor app using ChatGPT. Section
This
2.
is great. I love it. I love that. That's really nice.
Okay, you can see.
Keep
that.
going.
And the second idea is for the student where they can learn. We can making app using conversation app like tutor app, and student who want to learn new languages and communicate both sides like live and debate conversations and coaching caches, writing guideline. ChatGPT will provide the corrections on lively. Hello.
Yep, I'm here.
Yeah, you keep going. Hasib, you keep going. Don't stop. Keep going. Non-stop. Hasib,
I like
শোনা যাচ্ছে
I
না।
like whose ideas were those? Who was talking?
Hasib.
Hasim.
Hasib. Hasib. Yeah.
We lost him with bandwidth. I love both those ideas. I love all of them. They're great.
Yeah. So
Well done.
So yeah, we are done. So Todd, now this is your turn. So go share your ideas with us.
Well,
I'm
let's see if
excited to see yours.
Yeah, let's see if there's anybody else.
Is there anybody else still? No, I think no.
All right. Like, what is it that, I mean, generative AI, ChatGPT takes information and gives us understanding. And so like, how do you really quickly create something? How do you create something that somebody will pay you to use it because it saves them time? And where do we go where there isn't something already, right? And so a lot of really great ideas have been shared today. And before I share this, and partly I wanted to wait till the end just to sort of let people drop away who weren't as committed. And so now we're up closer to 40. Now we're down to 30 people, but this is being recorded and we see everybody there, right? And so we are all in agreement that what is being shared here is for us to work on together, okay? And so I'm going to share this idea, but it's something that if it excites you, we work on it together, is the agreement we're all making right now by continuing to be here. And if you don't agree to that, then you could jump off right now and not be exposed to this idea. So feel free to jump off if you don't want to hear it. But if you do hear it, then you're part of the team. You're agreeing to be part of the team. You're agreeing that we're working on this together. So a huge place that everybody spends time in business is synthesizing the content of meetings and synthesizing the content of, what they're doing in their work. And so, even right here today, we've talked for 2 hours and 20 minutes. And, if this was a business meeting, somebody would need to make notes of this meeting. They would need to create the minutes. In America, we call them the minutes of the meeting.
Minutes, right? Yeah.
Well, hell, generative AI does that. So let's take all of the audio of this meeting. Let's run it through NLP, natural language processing, turn it into text. Let's feed that text document into generative AI, and let's tell generative AI to make meeting minute notes for us of this meeting, right? And there is the first idea. And so, we could have an app, and that app could be programmed to recognize people's voices. So people in your organization, it would know that I'm Todd, that you're Mostain, and that you're Talal and Deepu and Ishtiaq and Saif. It'd recognize our voices, so it'd know who is speaking. It would know who's in attendance. It would know when the meeting began and when it ended, right? And this app would be on our phones, and we could just go into meeting and hit record meeting, and it'd start recording the entire meeting. And then it could also be in Zoom, right? So in Zoom, we could say, hey, record this meeting so that I could take, generate the minutes, the meeting notes automatically. We could also ask it to include actionable takeaways, right? So if takeaways were mentioned, we could put keywords into it, like here's a takeaway, here's an actionable item, but maybe we could figure that out. I haven't experimented with this yet. So what I encourage Mostain to do is download, the meeting recording, turn it into text. You could do that through Adobe Premiere or some other website. And, let's use ChatGPT's API and see, here's this document, understand this document and turn it into meeting notes, right? I think that's a really practical application, that if it's on a phone, that it's easily accessible. It doesn't need organizational adoption, right? Because, an individual anywhere in any business could just have the app on their phone and could start using it. And at the same time, it could have organizational adoption. So we could sell it at an institutional level to businesses, which is an easier sell than to consumers. Because if you could go to a business and you could say, look, we're going to give you more accuracy with your meetings. You're going to have a complete transcript and record of all of your meetings, and we're going to save your employees time, and we're going to do all this for this one low cost, right? Like better information, better efficiency. They'll pay us $10 a month, $20 a month per user, right? $3 a month per user, whatever. You got 1,000, you're paying us 3,000 a month so that we could save, X number of hours of your employees' labor and increase your accuracy. Like that's something we could sell, right? And so I think that's a great idea. And then there's stages behind that for implementation to grow into, just thinking along those lines. So that's the actionable takeaway from today's meeting, right? In addition to everything else we've learned, like this is another one that I want to see this explored. And the way we explore it isn't to immediately let's go build it and sell it. It's like, all right, let's try it out. Let's get the text from this meeting or from the previous meeting, both of them, and see if we could upload that to Gen AI and have it create the meeting notes for us. And then the other applications that could come from this, right? Not only minutes from a meeting, but like maybe, you know, a professor needs to write a letter of recommendation for a student. Well, come by my office. Let's talk for 15 minutes. They hit record, right? And it records the conversation. The professor's like, tell me about your background, right? And maybe the application's like, this is a new voice. Who is speaking, right? And we say, oh, well, this is Bob Wilson. He's my student in this class. Okay, great, thank you. Please proceed. Bob, tell me about your experience. Like, you know, you want me to write a letter of recommendation. Which class of mine were you in? What grade did you get? What do you remember from the class? Like, where do you want to go? What are your accomplishments? And the student feeds all this information. The professor's like, thanks for coming by. And then the professor says, please write a letter of recommendation for that student based upon that conversation. Here's the letter of recommendation. Now that just saved me an hour to 2 hours as a professor, right? Or, you know, professor's working on a grant proposal with his doctoral students. They have a meeting for 4 hours. Synthesize that material into a grant proposal, right, of that recording. So we have minute meetings, we have letters of recommendation, we have grant proposals, and then, you know, students, right? Students could take it and record their class lectures. Please record my class lectures. Great, here's a text transcript of the entire class lecture you went to. Great, now summarize that lecture to me into the most important points and provide any interesting other sources related to those, right? Or as I was looking at those notes, they could link to other sources. Click this to get more information on this summary. Or here's a popular video that talks about this point on YouTube, right? For that student. And then the student could prompt the student after recording the lecture. They could prompt the student and it could say, you know, hey, you remember the most within the first 15 minutes of being exposed to it. Are you able to sit down for 5 minutes and just reflect upon what you learned in lecture and speak that into this device, right? And record that, because that's going to reinforce your learning. Like they could receive that text message within 3 minutes after class ending. And so then they could go somewhere and sit down on a bench outside the classroom. And they could say, well, this is what I learned from lecture and this really stood out to me. And then the system could interact with them a little bit. Tell me what you learned from lecture. What really stood out to you, right? And what were the main points that you got from the lecture? And are there any other reflections you'd like to share about the lecture? The system could prompt the student to speak their own thoughts into it. And then their thoughts would be recorded with that lecture. And this would be recorded for the entire class that they're taking. And it'd be able to know which class they're in because it'd know their location and it'd know, okay, this class, this time, this location. And then the student could say, hey, based upon all of my comments and the lecture notes, I need to write a paper on this subject. Will you go through all of my words and take all of my words and turn that into a 3-page paper discussing, the shift in technology from this or whatever topic, right? And then it could look at what they had said and help them synthesize their thoughts into a paper, which is going to be controversial. But there's a trade-off, right? Because it's this amazing learning tool, which is allowing them to learn in new ways, but it's also writing the paper for them. But then they're reviewing the paper, right? Before they submit it and reading it. And so it's really like this personalized tutor, that's kind of like if I was a billionaire son and I went to university and I have my butler with me. What did you think of that? Right? Well, go write that paper for me and bring it to me and let's talk about it. Right? Like that's how a billionaire son goes to university. And this would be, everybody would have their own butler with them, their own assistant to kind of help them. And so that's just like taking information, whether it's this meeting here, right? Or it's a professor sitting down to write a letter of recommendation with a student, or a professor sitting down to write a grant application, or a student going to lectures, is taking information, it's synthesizing it into understanding. It's summarizing it. It's writing that letter of recommendation. It's, what was the other example? It's creating the meeting notes, right? And so I think that's a pretty actionable, easily achievable, given the technology And it's also not there. It's not there. Like no other websites are doing this right now because the technology to do this has only just now become available right now, right? And so if we create this, we'll be the only ones in the world who have it that I've seen. But go do the research. Like everybody here, like go Google it. Go take these ideas, this idea, and Google it and see, are there people doing this, right? And so, you know, and give me your thoughts on it. Think about it, and then think about the pros and cons, and write up those pros and cons on a piece of paper. And then we'll get together again next week, right? And I'm going to talk to the VC on Sunday. But then, I mean, we got some dev talent here, and Mustaine, my friend is Bill Kennedy, and he's connected to the best developers in the world. And so, like, if we get funding and we get the idea right, so our main job right here is to get the idea right, to make sure the idea is solid. Maybe this is it, maybe it's something else, right? And behind this idea right here that I just gave you, there's more depth. Because as you get into an organization and as you start to capture that organization's discussions, you start to answer and solve one of the greatest challenges and problems an organization has, and that's knowing what it knows. Organizations don't know what they know. And as you start to capture the communication within the organization in meetings, on phone, via email, as you start to capture that communication, the organization begins to know and has the capability to know, to understand what it knows. And so then the CEO could be like, you know, who has been talking about this within the organization? And the system could say that these people. Who in my organization is really good at writing? Well, I've analyzed the speech patterns and writing abilities of all the different people in your organization. And here are the people who have the 3 best writing abilities, right? Based upon good writing standards, right? And now the organization, like, who's really good at social skills? I'm going to a function. I need somebody who's really good with people. Well, this person is always connecting and coordinating and texting. Take her with you, right? Right? Like, you know, we have a new position. Who would be really good in this position, right? Like the organization then starts to get knowledge of itself. And so you enter the organization with this app, which allows people to easily gain efficiencies and eliminate work that they had to do in the past. But then you start to gain knowledge of that organization. And then on that knowledge, just like with search, right, we start to gain understanding of something which is valuable. And that has more value. So you could expand upon this first idea into a deeper realm. So there's room for growth. And that room for growth means room for profitability. And that room for profitability means success and New Zealand. Okay, yes. So let's do it. Let's do it. So if you've got better ideas, come up with them. This has been a brainstorming session. Okay, a brainstorming session where we've been lost in the weeds and we've been trying to see what we don't see. We've been blind. Right? And now we're starting to open our eyes, and we have to be lost. We have to have uncomfortable, awkward, weird conversations. We're like, what the hell's going on? What are we talking about? Right? Like, what am I still doing here? You know, like I should probably go to bed, right? But, you know, but then you start to like get like insights. You're like, oh, it's a paradigm shift. The web was about information. Generative AI is about understanding. Well, hell, what's that going to look like? Right? And where's that going to be applied? How's it not being applied yet? And it's so easy to think in the old ways. And how do we start to think in that new way? So this idea, some other idea, right? Like this is what I've come up with so far. But if we come up with something better, great. But like, let's keep kicking it around, keep thinking. And I truly believe in the potential and the possibility for collective intelligence, and that the sum is greater, the whole is greater than the parts, the individual, and that there's all kinds of amazing talent and brain power, and that each one of you is smarter than me in some area, right? And in some area, I'm smarter than each one of you, that each of us is an expert and a genius and knows something that none of the rest of us know, right? And so together, we will like combine our collective intelligence, and we will be more together than we will be individually. And I know that this is a random connection, right? Mustaine, Coding Bootcamp. But at the same time, I could see that Mustaine has got a good heart, right? And I believe in the goodness in all of you. And so let's do it. You know, let's find that idea. Let's be a success story. In 3 years from now, let's be in New Zealand and let's like be laughing about it, and be on the cover of a magazine or something, or automatically generated content about this interesting group of people who created this amazing business. Like, let's do it. So that's what I got. Anybody got any thoughts?
Yeah, actually, based on your talkings, I was planning that how they things I was thinking the architecture of the systems, that how people will interact with the systems, how will connect with the NLP, and that it will generate the text, and how we can minimize the cost for the computation cost of the NLP to text, and that parts of the things. So actually, I think within the 1 week, the next from this meeting to the next meeting, I think I might come up with the system design, and we can with the Talal sir and the Todd and you and the Mostan sir, with all that we can refactor and the redesign and the systems. So I have planned the how it would be the based on your system, because actually last night I was got an email from Cloud App that how CEO are managing their synchronous meetings and asynchronous meetings, and I am familiar with the meeting minutes and all the things. So actually, Orange HRM, I was a software engineer that US based company. So actually I was thinking that how we can design the systems for more efficient and for more web friendly and the phone friendly. So I have got take notes, and inshallah within the 1 week I can give you a nice model so that we can start with, or start the thinking process, or we can chat more about that.
I love it. And I love your creative and agile mind and your enthusiasm. And also the idea is the most important thing right now. And part of that idea exploration is exploring the implementation and the architecture, right? So that's a great thing to explore. And also when we settle on the right idea or the right couple of ideas, so there's a lot of us here, and we might run at this, and we might run at the travel thing, and we might run at the virtual doctor, and we might run at the university applications, right? We might run at a couple of them, but we might also decide just to run at one and really, concentrate our efforts. But settling on the idea is the most important thing, and then getting the resources to be able to fund it and make it actually viable is also important. And then after that, we are connected to Bill Kennedy and the best developers in the world, right? And I spoke with Bill yesterday, and he's on board. If we get the right thing, he's 100% ready to help and help us get the best developers. So you formulating the architecture will then, take that to Bill, and we'll be working with all of them also to help make it happen. But this is all fantastic.
Yeah, so we have another student, Mizwa. He wants to say something. To take his consent as well.
Hi. My younger brother was listening to Todd and all the students. He want to give an idea. Can you allow me to give him to?
Yeah, go ahead. Todd said yes, go ahead.
You have me at younger brother. That tells me he's going to be better at being creative than any of us. Young people are creative.
Yes. Yeah. Hello. Hi, sorry, I was eavesdropping, and I listened to your conversation and the stuff you were talking about. I had this idea. For example, if you have, you in a law firm, you have an AI that knows the law, right? And you could have your client. You could tell the AI the situation that your client in, and it could give you the best outcome, or best options to choose from. I think it could be a good idea. Also, I think the idea of AI, we human, the imagination is very restricted, right? I read it in an article. There's all millions of books and stories and movies, right? It all boils down to maybe 27 or something stories. So we can't really think outside of the box So I think like it's a revolutionary thing, the AI, to get out of the box. So yeah, I think law firm is a good.
No, I completely agree. And the idea I suggested, that would be another use, that, you know, being able just to record, transcribe, and synthesize the information into understanding for us, right? Like that'd be another use case of that app, would be for lawyers to, you know, when they take a deposition, right, to record the deposition and turn it into text, and then to synthesize that for their understanding, right? So that they could really quickly understand, you know, what the main points from the deposition were. But also generative AI just beyond that. So the idea I forwarded has a use application in law also. But the beyond that, Chat GPT passed the law exams in America. I've heard, I don't know what the source is on that, but that's what I heard. And so, you know, it is something that, like, I have a friend, Job, who Mustaine knows, and Job has, maybe you guys have heard him talk too, but Job has a buddy who's an attorney, and his buddy who's an attorney has his legal assistants use Chat GPT already for a lot of the work that they do. So definitely you're thinking along the right lines. Thank you. It's a good thought. All right, anybody got anything else? What time is it in Bangladesh?
It's 11:37. 11 past 37.
Right, so y'all need to get to bed.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I want to give a I will think of, let's like all think of, like, for between now and Sunday morning. So Sunday morning will be the deadline. What are the things that we need to explore in relation to the idea that I just said? And let's send those to Mustaine via email. And when you email them that, you could say, I'm going to do this, right? Like, so one of the things that needs to be explored would be testing, you know, the text transcript, right? So taking the text from this meeting, uploading the text to Chat GPT. Maybe we have to use the API to do that. And then having Chat GPT look at all that information and synthesize it into understanding, right? And so that's one idea that you could put on the list. And Mustaine, if you're able to do that and grab 1 or 2 people to do that, you guys can work on that between now and next Friday. But if anybody else has ideas that, oh, we should look into this or do this, email that to Mustaine, and then also say whether or not you're going to do it. And then if Mustaine hears from 2 people, maybe, you know, Saif and Talal both email him and say, hey, we really need to look to see if there's already, you know, something which synthesizes meetings into minutes, do a little market research. Then maybe Saif and Talal, he could email them back and say, all right, you both are going to work on that, right? Coordinate with each other and do a little research to see what's out there. Because we should do a little market research and just see, is there something out there that already does that? What is the competition like? So that's one of the things that should be done. But think about that individually, like what needs to be researched or investigated or looked into, right? So when we get together again next Friday, I could give you an update on the meeting I have with the VC, and then you could give me an update on, hey, we ran it through, this is what it looked like, right? You know, another research would be what kind of tools exist for students taking notes in lectures, right? What are the applications, and how functional are they? And do they transcribe the lecture text into text? And then do they summarize that? And then do they prompt the student with questions to capture their reflections and thoughts right after class, right? Like, I think, you know, and so now we're starting to add some value that I don't think is going to be out there, but we should do that research to make sure it's not already out there. And then maybe some of you know people in business, right? And so maybe some of you know people who have a large business. Maybe some of you work for a large business, right? But you could maybe, you know, with your own discretion, like ask them, say, hey, I've been working with natural language processing if I could find a way for, you know, a meeting to be recorded and then it would, you know, automatically create the minutes from that meeting, would that be something that would be interesting to your business, so that it'd save your employees time, and then also it would give you more, it'd capture more knowledge of what's happening in your business? Would that be something that's interesting to your business? And if I build that, would you be willing to be one of my customers? And so if you know somebody in a business and you want to ask them that, that's a little bit of like, use your heart and feel if you feel comfortable talking to that person about that. You obviously, fear is often an incorrect advisor. Fear is often an incorrect advisor. So my brother-in-law, who's now a CEO of Alphabet company, he used to run a company and he was afraid that Google was going to compete with him on his company. But he realized later, Google wasn't interested in doing anything against his previous company because it was only like $100 million a year company, and Google thinks at billion-dollar levels, right? And so, you know, when you talk to other employers, like most of them aren't going to be like, that's a great idea, I'm going to go build it. Most of them are like, I got my hands full running my own business, right? So, but if we could find a couple of businesses that are already like, yeah, I'd totally be our customer. Like before you ever build software, you should always find your customers and you should check in with them and you should say, would this be something you'd pay for? Right? And if we get 10 out of 10 saying, I would totally pay $3 a person a month to have that, right? If we get 10 out of 10 that says that, we know that we're on to something. So that's another thing that each and every one of you can do. If you know somebody who owns a business, talk with the owner and say, how much would you pay? $3, $2 a month, or whatever makes sense in Bangladesh, right? To have this service. So those are all some actionable takeaways, some things that we could do between now and next Friday. Email them to Mostain if you have other ideas, or if you can do any of the ones I just mentioned. And that way we're always pushing the ball forward and working. And if anybody's got other ideas for what we could do to push the ball forward those now, or also forward them to Mostain. We're all just human, but together we're stronger than alone.
Yeah, actually, I want to add it. By the Friday, I will do the research that how we can generate the voice to text. I will develop the design, architecture design, the base architecture design, which might be a little novice because I am just started a few months back for architecture design. So you may I might need your help, all of your helps. And I will also research that what types of like Zira, Asama, and all others, the management systems like that, if they are doing this or not, and those things. And I will research that what type of tools and the process we might need in the implementation of this project. So I am willingly taking these 4, and if I can add more, then I will do by the slides. So from my part.
Yeah, so Professor Talal, yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's a very good idea. I think it's sort of that I was about to say earlier that we were discussing with the friends about what we can do. I didn't think of that as ChatGPT because I wasn't very familiar with this one. So we were talking about how do we actually use AI to create a recommendation system, a recommendation for businesses, how to, if there is a business going fine or not, or is it what they should do, what would be the things to help them. So this is some kind of a service we were thinking in that, which actually falls in what Todd is talking about. It's basically something similar, and it's much more meat to it than what you are actually proposing. So this is very good. I like the idea because we are doing here, and nowadays it's the online meeting, and meeting has been overwhelmed. It's everywhere. We don't just sit down and write, talk to each other and get somebody to write it down. So we are the number of meetings has increased enormously, and so this is going to come in handy. Actually, if we can do this one, this will be, and that this is not the only place where we can use it. It can be used in everywhere, like Todd said in class and everything, but also the grant application, because we are struggling with the grant application. As there's so many applications and so many rules, regulations. You have to follow this, you have to follow that, and the way you have to write, and it is actually makes the also very easy to systematize this, of the chats, work, and that will make it easy to program as well. So, and I of course, there is a lot of challenge, and the question remains is, do we have everything that we can actually use and then build it, or do we really have to have some kind of a research on the side as well? Because not necessarily you can give all the services, because you really have to, if you're thinking about the venture or something, it's not just you build an app, because app is not going to be enough. You need a service. You need to build a service around it. So, and that service will be, it has to be dynamic. It has to be timely. So it has to be, adjusted to the domain, the time, to the people, kind of a business, and all those things. And that kind of a service would be, it may become $1 billion business. I don't know, but this can be. It is not a small thing. So, but I suppose there is a lot of research and things are there. So it's a good idea, Todd. Thanks. Yeah. We should do something on that.
And that's the importance of sharing ideas with a community that you trust, is when you take your ideas out of your own head and share them with other people, you start to discover what has merit and what has value, and also what just what is like, oh yeah, that wouldn't work. So it's really good to hear that you also validate that and you think it has value. I think it has tremendous value. I also think it has tremendous potential. I also think it's tremendously timely. And I think that if we run at this fast and hard a year from now, like we could be in an incredible place, all of us. And again, realizing success in business, the main intention for myself, and I forward this for your consideration, is to, be able to contribute to the community, to be able to take care of my family, my loved ones, but then also to be able to take care of all of humanity, right? And so resources, generating money, that all contributes to being able to do those things. Talal, if you could maybe think about, because you have some expertise in this area, you've already written a grant for the Gates Foundation before, right? If you could think about, are there any grants out there, any type of funding source that we might be able to apply to? So, that could supplement the venture capital. So maybe that could be your task for the week. And then you could come back and you could say, hey, I found this over here at this foundation, and they're really looking for innovation in whatever way. And then you could report back to us about that.
Sure.
I know a guy that lives, a couple houses away. He is the right-hand man for a billionaire running his foundation. So that's already on my list. Like, once I kind of get things a little further along, to hit him up, because they're really social oriented. So if we could pitch them to fund something that really benefits society, that's also a resource available to us that I'm looking at. But thank you for looking at that, Talal.
Sure, I'll do that.
Fun.
Yeah, there is another student, Jahid. Yeah, Jahid, do you want to say something?
Yes. Thank you, sir, for being here. My younger brother just gave me some ideas. So his ideas are like, we often fail in accident in the road, right? So if there is a system that whenever we fall in accident, and the news will spread out to concerns, so that they might rescue us from the accident, or whenever a earthquake happens, and the alert goes to or a notification goes to nearby concerns. And also when we often face that we stuck in the lift, and then in the lift we don't able to call someone, or the emergency number is not actually working, then we can use the ChatGPT actually, so that we can communicate with others, or we might lost in some place, and then we collect the data from the map or the or nearby any rescue center or the authorities who can help us from the ChatGPT, or we send help, we ask help from them through the ChatGPT. Those can be done actually.
I didn't capture all that. The audio is breaking up a little bit for me, but if you could maybe write all those down and then you could have them in a document, and we could see that next week and look at those. Does that make sense, Shahid?
Sorry, can you repeat again?
জাহিদ, তুমি ওই যেগুলো বলছো এটা টড প্রপারলি শুনতে পারে না, জাস্ট তুমি এগুলো লিখে কি চ্যাটে দিতে পারবা অথবা মেইলে দিতে পারবা, যাতে নেক্সট উইকে আমরা এটা নিয়ে আলোচনা করতে পারি ফার্দার?
Yes, I'm sharing in the chat.
Okay, that would be
I'll be right
better.
back.
Yeah, sure. So Jahid, write it down, not now. You can write it down or even email me after the conversation end, okay?
Okay.
You have my email ID, right?
Yes, I have your email ID.
Yeah, so yeah, I already shared my email ID in the chat box. So whoever not get my email ID, please take my email ID from there and send me mail, whatever you have or you want to share with us. Yeah, so Professor Todd, let's conclude this. Let's give us assignment, and you already shared us that you are going to meet a venture capitalist by Sunday, right? Or Monday? Yeah, so
hold on, I'm running late for our next meeting. I'm just letting you know.
Yeah, sure, please.
Yeah, well, it's pretty much what I shared already. We all have to be self-starters. We all just jump in and contribute. And also we need some coordination so we don't duplicate efforts. But even if we both kind of run down the same road a little bit, we'll probably find slightly different perspectives. So that'll even be useful. So I really like what Talal's going to look into. I liked what Saif had to share, each of us can think about how we can explore this and what research can be done, market research. And then when we get back together next Friday, we can come back together with that. We'll need, Android development for an Android app. We'll need iOS development. So if any of you have expertise in that,
more than multiple, we have multiple Android experts in our class. Yeah.
Awesome.
So Sadman, you hear hey Sadman,
we'll need some people who are really digging into the ChatGPT API. So some people have already gone through that course. So
Sadman, you are the mobile app developer, right?
Yeah, I can develop, right?
Yeah, can you contribute
Actually,
to us?
I'm a backend developer, to be honest.
Yeah, but still, you shared me. You also know how to.
I can develop one.
Yeah.
I can develop on iOS and Flutter as well, both.
Okay, cool. That's cool. Okay, and we have more maybe, so we can connect them later. No worries. So yeah, just make a list. So Nasarul Hassan, you have a list. Who are expert on which technologies, right?
Okay.
So we have to go through that documents, and we will call them. We will ask for their contribution. If they agree, then definitely we will include their name and have another meeting before our next Friday. Thus, we will come up with a conclusion how we gonna contribute and who will be take the responsibility for what purpose. Okay, that would be great.
Yeah.
Okay, sir.
And if you need to excerpt, like if you need to kind of convey to somebody, hey, are you interested in joining us on this? You could share with them this video recording of this meeting, and you could also, say, hey, you could just jump to this point and watch that 10 minutes of Todd McLeod where he shares like the idea that we're working on, and we're still in the exploratory process. So one of the pitfalls could be that we decide upon an idea at the expense of finding an even better idea. So I think this is a great idea. Maybe there's an even better idea. Like, let's not close that door, right? But let's keep the exploratory process open. And part of that is like, you know, exploring the implementation of this idea and also still hearing other ideas. And part of that, you know, is like talking to businesses. Would you be our customer if we built this for you? So all of that.
Yeah. So whenever we exploring, we ask the relevant clients, future client, the same question. If we make this, would you able to use it? And if you use it, how much you gonna pay us? Maybe $5, maybe $10, whatever. So we ask question, we take answer like a survey. So we may take decisions how many customers we reach out and what are their feedback. So this is how we may conclude that this is might be a good option for future, because that's how people do research before they got into the market, right?
Yeah. And each of us, I encourage each of us to find one little thing that we do, even if it's only one thing. Each and every one of us try to find one thing to do between now and next Friday. And so when we come back next Friday, maybe we could just have a real brief 1-minute update from everybody. This is what I found out, you know?
Yeah, of course. And I will make sure before next Friday, we have another 3 classes. So with that class, I will summary and I will ask their feedback as well. I will pass it to you as well. So no worries.
Cool. Well, it's been a pleasure, everybody. Does anybody have any last things to say before we break until next week?
কারো কিছু বলার আছে আর আমরা শেষ করার আগে? Yeah.
Get some good rest. Have a good sleep. See you in a week. Nice to see you all.
Take care. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Good night.
Good morning, Ted, and good morning.
Good evening. Good night. Good morning. Bye.
Bye.